In a twisted realm of chaotic energy, the final battle is about to begin. A lone warrior arrives to challenge the ruler of this hellscape. Enthroned in shadow, the Demon King awaits. At his command, a legion of demons swarms the solitary hero. But faced with an army, his only reply is a confident smirk. Power flares in his hands, readying him for the slaughter. From the flames, he summons a pair of ornate, magic-infused guns. Launching himself into the fray, he prepares to rain down destruction. His enchanted bullets tear through demon flesh like paper. He unleashes a bullet dance, a whirlwind of gunfire that scythes through the horde. The entire army is annihilated, and he lands, his gun still smoking. From his throne, the Demon King watches the last of his fodder fall. His patience at an end, the king rises to finish this himself. He raises his scythe, and the very sky is torn apart by his dark power. With a casual swing, he unleashes a wave of pure annihilation. The hero throws himself aside, barely dodging the lethal strike. The attack carves through the landscape, obliterating the distant mountains. But there is no time to breathe, as the Demon King is already upon him. He's sent skidding backward, completely overwhelmed by the sheer force. His counterattack is useless. The bullets spark harmlessly against an impenetrable barrier. The rumors were true. The dark stone on the Demon King's forehead is his only weak point. The king toys with him, conjuring spheres of pure destruction to prove the gap in their power. Dodging the barrage pushes him to his absolute limit. One blast breaks through his guard, sending his magical guns flying. Disarmed and beaten, the fire in his eyes is far from extinguished. He summons his true ace in the hole, a single powerful rifle. Taking aim, he fires his ultimate skill, Moonlight Bullet. The shot slams into the barrier, and for the first time, it finally cracks. The Demon King's arrogance shatters, replaced by unadulterated rage. Tendrils of shadow erupt from the ground, binding the hero completely. Trapped and helpless, he knows the shadows will consume him. He unloads everything he has, pouring fire into the fractured dark stone. As his power source shatters, the Demon King vows to end this now. But the hero counters with his true trump card, Dawn's Judgments. The holy light slams into the Demon King, obliterating his source of power. With the beast flailing in agony, he moves in for the final blow. Pressing the barrel to its head, he declares it's time to see the ending. The world dissolves, replaced by two simple words, Game Clear. Because this entire war was just a video game, and the player has finally won. Already bored, he decides to start a new game, this time using the high-risk, high-reward karma system. He gleefully stacks his new character with every debilitating penalty imaginable. The result is a glass cannon, a mage with unparalleled power but a body on the verge of collapse. He laughs it off, ready for the challenge. After all, it's not real, until the game becomes his new reality. His last memory was a game's loading screen, and a quote that would soon define his new reality. A black light erupted from the screen, swallowing his consciousness whole. Then, a violent hand tore him from his sleep. He awoke to a strange ceiling and the start of a nightmare. An aggressive man, the supervisor, roared a name that was not his own, Lainok. Without warning, a fist flew towards his face. The blow sent him sprawling across the cold, hard floor. He was in a grim, crowded dormitory, surrounded by whispers and mocking stares. The blood drained from his face as he recognized the frail, sickly body he now inhabited, one he himself had designed for the game. The supervisor loomed over him, threatening another beating if he didn't get to work. With a final command to hurry to the assembly room, his new boss stormed off. The other workers sneered, callously predicting he'd be dead within days. But one man among them, Van, could only watch with a grim, conflicted silence. The supervisor's roar cut through their gossip, sending the terrified workers scrambling from the room. As Lennox struggled to his feet, he overheard his boss ask Van to order something called the Vipers. The reality of his situation was an impossible, crushing weight. 3 days passed, and he was forced into the brutal, endless routine of the factory. The work was grueling, and the food was little more than waste. His attempts to gather information were met with cold shoulders and fearful eyes. He understood their avoidance. In their eyes, he was already a dead man walking. His body was failing, and right on cue, the supervisor spotted him lagging behind. The man approached, flanked by Van, his face a mask of irritation. But as the threats began, the strain became too much. His body collapsed in a fit of coughing. Disgusted, his boss ordered Van to drag the eyesores out of sight. Only the high willpower stat he'd given this character kept his mind from breaking under the strain. The supervisor drove a boot into his side, telling him to get out of the way. He was dismissed like trash, told to go die somewhere he wouldn't be a nuisance. The irony was cruel. The collection of illnesses he'd chosen for his character build were now actively killing him. But there was a single, desperate hope. This body's immense talent for magic should still be intact. If he could just tap into that power, it would be his only way out. Taking advantage of being ignored, he slipped away from the factory floor to search for an escape route. He soon discovered a hallway with a bright light at the end, a possible path to the outside. But as he moved to investigate, approaching footsteps forced him into hiding. Peeking from the shadows, his own powerlessness was a bitter pill. He overheard two guards deriding the leftovers, the workers, as slow and useless. Their conversation shifted to a rushed delivery for a powerful group called the Union. Then, a stunning revelation: the Union sells its products to a black mage. His thoughts were interrupted as one guard showed the other a Viper's body enhancer. The guard boasted about a new filter in the vial, one that reduces its toxicity. And then, the single most important detail: the filter contains mana. Mana. A source of magical energy. It was right there. He watched, transfixed, as the guard activated the enhancer with a click. Instantly, the fluid inside the filter pulsed with a vibrant, blue energy. As his eye reflected the light, his own latent magical senses awakened. The mana in the vial acted as a catalyst, igniting a long-dormant spark within him. His eyes flared with power as the external mana resonated with the talent buried deep inside. A powerful aura erupted from him, sending a jolt through his entire body. It felt as if a dam had burst, unlocking a power he never knew he possessed. This new perception had a name: the Third Eye, the key to his magic. An ethereal echo of himself materialized, a symbol of this newly opened sense. For the first time, he could feel mana flowing into his body with every single breath. He clenched his fist and felt the surge of a familiar, forgotten power. A confident smirk crossed his lips as he identified the first element he could command: lights. He had finally tapped into this world's magic. His escape had truly begun. That night, he secretly practiced his new ability, conjuring a small, wavering ball of light. He remembered the guard's words: the Union visit in 2 days would be the perfect distraction. He needed a way to be left alone on that day, and a cunning plan began to form. He focused his magic, applying the light spell directly to his skin to raise his body's temperature. His skin grew hot to the touch. He could fake a deathly fever. If he looked sick enough, he was certain the guards would finally leave him be. But across the facility, Van was delivering the box of Vipers to the supervisor. As a reward for his work, the supervisor forced one of the enhancers into Van's hand. Van accepted the unwanted gift with a quiet, strained thank you. Then, his boss gave a chilling, offhand order: dispose of Lennox before the Union members arrive. With grim and silent understanding, Van accepted the task. The next morning, the workers stirred, groaning about the impending Union visit. Lennox maintained his act, his body slick with a magically induced fever. The others took notice, murmuring that his fever had grown much worse. Sweat beaded on his brow as he feigned unconsciousness, his deception working perfectly. They grimly agreed his time was up, already arguing over who would have to clean up the body. Overhearing them, Lennox celebrated internally. His plan was a success. But then, a worker called out a name, and he saw Van walking towards his bunk. The others whispered that Van was here to send him off cleanly, and quickly cleared out to avoid the sight. The word sent a spike of ice through him. Send me off cleanly? As Van reached his bedside, he knew the situation had taken an unexpected and deadly turn. This was not part of the plan. He had made a fatal miscalculation. Van's hand landed firmly on his shoulder. Trapped, he let out a weak groan, desperately maintaining the ruse. But instead of a final blow, Van simply propped him up and offered him the Viper enhancer. He explained that the Viper was a potent enhancer that temporarily boosts physical strength. With a cryptic message that it should be enough for the road ahead, Van turned and left. Stunned into silence, Lennox was left holding the impossible gift. He could feel an incredible vitality flowing from the vial, a potent concentration of mana. He remembered Van at the supervisor's door, and the pieces clicked into place. Van hadn't been sent to kill him, he had been sent to help. The entire plan had just changed. The day begins at the factory loading dock, under the watchful eyes of corrupt management. The director glares at the product count, his expression a clear threat. The supervisor's denial is cut short by a sharp reminder of who truly holds power here. With an ongoing human rights indictment, the director demands a show of sincerity. Instantly humbled, the supervisor bows, his apologies echoing through the dock as a guard, Ade, looks on. The guard mutters curses against the protesters, oblivious to the real threat standing right behind him. Lennox sees his opening and approaches with an innocent request, setting his escape into motion. He calmly lies about an errand to the director's office, claiming the door was locked. When questioned, he drops the keyword that will spring his trap: he's delivering a Viper. The mention of the valuable enhancer is all it takes. The annoyed guard grabs his keys. As Ade leads the way, the first piece of Lennox's plan falls perfectly into place. The guard grumbles the entire way, ordering him to walk faster. Unlocking a secluded office, Ade impatiently tells him to hurry up and leave the package. The moment the guard's back is turned, Lennox summons his power. Blue lightning crackles in his palm, a storm ready to be unleashed. He slams his electrified hand into the unsuspecting guard. Ade convulses, paralyzed by the high-voltage magical attack. Lennox's cold eyes watch as his opponent is neutralized. Standing over the unconscious body, he lets out a breath. His first real combat was a success. He spots the keys Ade dropped on the floor. Among them, a car key, a vital tool for his escape. With the guard down, he searches the office for the Vipers. He finds a gun, an unexpected but welcome advantage. Next, a change of clothes to complete his disguise. Finally, he locates the prize, a case of Viper enhancers. After changing, he examines the Viper, a drug that erases all exhaustion and pain. But his moment of victory is shattered by the click of the office door. The supervisor appears, sniffing the air for the distinct smell of Viper. He storms into the room, furious at the thought of a worker slacking off. But instead of a slacker, he finds his subordinate unconscious on the floor. From the shadows, Lennox steps forward to face his tormentor. He prepares for round 2, conjuring electricity once more. The supervisor's mind reels at the impossible sight of a mere worker wielding magic. He stammers, demanding to know who Lennox really is. But the spell fizzles, Lennox is out of mana. The supervisor's confusion ignites into rage as he finally recognizes the face of his prisoner. He lunges forward, intent on tearing the boy apart. Lennox answers by pulling the gun. The man freezes, his rage instantly replaced by the wide-eyed stare of a cornered animal. With a cold expression, Lennox orders him to be silent, the glowing gun punctuating his command. The supervisor's tone shifts from fury to frantic pleading. He desperately apologizes for everything. He begs for his life, promising to keep quiet and blaming his actions on orders. Lennox sees through the lie, but his finger hesitates on the trigger. The standoff is cut short by another guard calling from outside the door. Time is running out. His gaze hardens as he keeps the gun aimed. The supervisor continues his pathetic begging, his eyes glued to the barrel. In a final gambit, he points to a side door, a hidden escape route to the basement. Another complication, another choice to make against the clock. His decision made, Lennox is behind the wheel, speeding towards the factory exit. At the gate, a guard named Van is on his radio, unaware of the car hurtling toward him. He turns just in time to see the vehicle racing for his booth. Lennox pulls up, aims the gun, and gives a single command: open it. Van throws his hands up, pleading for his life. As ordered, the gate arm slowly rises, clearing the path to freedom. The guard shakily tells him he can leave now. But just as he's about to go, Van makes a desperate plea to be saved. Suddenly, the comm system crackles to life, an alarm breaking the silence. As a frantic voice orders all units to seal the exit, Van scrambles to respond. The command to lock down the compound echoes with furious desperation. Panicking, Van makes his choice, lying to his superiors that his radio is broken. He looks back at Lennox with a desperate, placating grin, his life hanging on this gamble. Lennox's expression remains unreadable, his mind already running the calculations. He reaches his conclusion. A witness is a loose end. Van's plea is cut short by a single gunshot. Without hesitation, Lennox executes the guard and drives on. Blood spatters the guard booth, a grim testament to the price of his freedom. As he speeds away, his high stats suppress all guilt and fear, keeping his mind perfectly rational. Ahead, one final gate blocks his path to the outside world. He slams his foot on the accelerator and smashes straight through the final barrier, his mind sharpening in the chaos. A confident smirk finds his lips. This is his true escape. He didn't just escape a prison, he unleashed the monster within. High above the city, a frantic chase unfolds inside an ACHS corporate skyscraper. Corporate security hounds a fleeing fugitive through the sterile corridors. They open fire, bullets ripping through the air as they close in. The hooded man gasps for breath, his stamina failing. With his pursuers gaining, he makes an impossible choice and sprints toward the massive window. A bullet tears through his leg, but he doesn't stop. He shatters the glass, committing himself to the endless drop. The guards can only stare, dumbfounded by his suicidal leap. One of them finds a piece of his bloodied cloak snagged on the broken glass. They peer into the abyss, searching for any sign of a body. Far below, a blood trail proves he survived the fall, and the hunt resumes. Meanwhile, having escaped the factory, Lennox passes through Gate 07 into the magic engineering city of Balkan. His old, beat-up car is a relic in the stream of high-tech traffic. Ragged from his ordeal, he takes in the futuristic world around him. This city is nothing like the World 2.0 game he once mastered. He senses it in the air, an energy flowing from the people and their technology. It confirms his theory from the factory. Mana is the foundation of this world's civilization. Just then, the physical toll of his escape slams into him. His energy drains away, and his hand instinctively reaches for the vipers in the back seat. But he pulls back. His supply is dangerously low. These stimulants must be saved for true emergencies. His first priority is a place to rest, and he spots a nearby hotel. Inside the room, the lock clicks shut, and he finally lets his guard down. He spent an hour making sure he wasn't followed. After abandoning the stolen car, he allows himself a single thought: rest. The thought is barely finished before his body gives out. Overwhelmed by exhaustion, he collapses onto the hotel room floor. He lies unconscious for hours, his body screaming for recovery. Waking to a powerful thirst, he staggers toward the mini-fridge. He grabs the first can of water he can find. Without a second thought, he chugs the cold liquid. A moment of relief washes over him. But it is cut short by a violent building pressure. His body rejects the water, and he doubles over, retching. The painful convulsions send him crashing to the floor. His trembling hands tell the story. These are the brutal side effects of the viper. He clenches his fist. For now, he has no choice but to rely on these drugs to move his frail body. Just as the pain subsides, his stomach rumbles, a reminder of another urgent need. His only option is a can of preserved beef. The taste is as foul as it looks. As he forces himself to eat, the hotel's comm device rings out. The front desk cheerfully informs him that his checkout is in 2 hours. Still dazed from his ordeal, he agrees to extend his stay, but the price is staggering, a balance of 120,000 sel. He hangs up. The disgusting canned food alone costs a tenth of the room fee. After paying for the room, he'll be left with just 10,000 sel, not enough for another night. The grim calculation is clear. Without money, he won't survive another day in this city. He runs a hand through his hair as a desperate plan begins to form. First, he heads to the bathroom to alter his appearance. To become a ghost in this city, he must shed his old self. With a small blade, he cuts away his long, dark hair. The remnants of his former identity fall into the sink. His new reflection is a stranger, one his pursuers won't recognize. Back on the streets, he finds a spot in an alley to observe the city's underbelly. As an illegal visitor with no identity, legal work is impossible. His solution is simple. He'll take what he needs from those who won't be missed. He closes his eyes and floods his ears with mana, activating a detection spell. His hearing expands, catching dozens of conversations across the block. He filters through the noise, searching for the sounds of criminality. A furious shout from a dark alley, a dispute over stolen money, catches his attention. His eyes snap open, glowing with mana. He's found his targets. He stands, ready to begin the hunt. But his frail body betrays him as a debilitating headache strikes. He grits his teeth, cursing the weakness that holds him captive. With no other option, he takes another dose of the viper. A surge of power courses through him, his eyes burning with cold resolve as he sets out to get paid. A scream shatters the alley's quiet. A man is thrown into a pile of trash like garbage. His assailants tower over him, demanding answers. He babbles, promising there will be no problems with the job. But they're not listening. They only care about their lost money. His partner decides there's only one way to settle this debt. They'll sell his parts to get their money back. As the glowing blade nears his face, the man's final pleas echo in the alley. Suddenly, a jolt of blue electricity seizes the thug's arm. The victim stares, unable to comprehend his sudden reprieve. An arc of raw power engulfs both attackers, their bodies convulsing in agony. Lennox steps from the shadows, a viper stick smoking in his hand. Easy. The thugs collapse, their bodies smoking on the pavement. The man begs his rescuer for help, but Lennox only has eyes for the thug's pockets. He pulls out a wad of cash, 700,000 sel, enough for now. He then picks up the laser cutter, and the man flinches away. He identifies it as an illegally modified Dykes cutter, a weapon. Another tool for self-defense is always useful. The terrified man swears he'll never speak of what he saw. Lennox turns, his eyes cold and empty. Anyone can say that. Desperate, the man offers to do anything his savior asks. And Lennox has just one question. Where can a mage without identification find work? Following the lead, he finds himself outside a neon-lit bar in a forgotten alley. With fresh clothes on his back, he studies the building's unassuming facade. Before he enters, he must conceal his identity. He casts a spell, and a mask of light reshapes his features. In this world, the only person he can trust is himself. He pushes open the door to the underworld bar. With a new face, he steps into the den of criminals. The bartender's eyes narrow at the sight of an unfamiliar customer. Lennox wastes no time. I need work. Is there anything that needs a mage? Before the bartender can answer, a woman's voice calls out from the back. A woman emerges from a side room, looking him over. The bartender explains his claim, and she scoffs. He doesn't look like a mage. Still, mages are rare, so she introduces herself as the broker, Jenny. He can't give his real name, so he borrows one from the dead, Van. Jenny gets straight to business, asking what kind of magic he can perform. She warns him not to waste her time with simple party tricks. But her taunt dies on her lips as a wave of immense mana washes over her. He holds out his hand, and raw blue energy crackles to life. He unleashes a controlled torrent of lightning, illuminating the entire bar. Jenny and the bartender can only stare, mouths agape at the display. Lightning magic, cast without a circle, without an incantation. It was impossible. In an instant, her skepticism vanishes, replaced by pure opportunism. A hungry grin spreads across her face as she proposes a contract. He lays down his one condition: no jobs that involve harming innocent people. Jenny agrees and slides a datapad across the bar, detailing his first job. The target is a scavenger named Taylor Evans, wanted for a theft against the Achilles Corporation. Lennox correctly deduces the heist failed. No mere scavenger could breach Achilles' security. Jenny confirms it, adding that Taylor was the only one left alive after his crew was slaughtered. She assures him it's a clean job. Both Achilles and the Scavengers Guild have abandoned the case. The reward is 3 million sell, not much, but a decent start. To find his target, he made an unusual request: the blood sample from the crime scene. Jenny had provided it, despite her doubts. Outside, he drops the blood-stained cloth to the ground. He doesn't need an expensive specialist for this. What was once common magic in his world is a legendary skill in this one. He has already remastered several spells from the game since his arrival. Now, it's time to use a hunter-type magic to track his prey. His eyes burn with a crimson light. He chants the spell's name, Bloody Chase. The blood on the cloth writhes and lifts into the air. It takes the form of a spectral serpent, a predator born of magic. The serpent slithers into the night, leading him toward an old, derelict railroad station. It silently closes in on a lone, hooded figure sitting amidst the decay. The hunt is over. The serpent rears up before its target. A sudden chill runs down the hooded man's spine as he senses the ominous red glow. The target, Taylor Evans, looks up just as the magic finds him. Lennox steps out of the darkness, his form wreathed in crimson energy. "I found you, Taylor Evans." A bounty target spots his pursuer and bolts into the night. Lennox sighs. He had prepared for a fight, not a chase. With his body's poor stamina, a physical pursuit is out of the question. Instead, he calmly gathers mana for a sound-based spell. He unleashes a powerful sound wave to end the chase instantly. The target is caught in the blast, his senses overwhelmed by the sonic assault. The concussive force throws him to the ground, completely incapacitated. Lennox coolly observes as the hunt comes to an end. On the ground, Taylor clutches his bleeding ears, writhing in agony. Lennox stands over his downed target. "You shouldn't have run." Suddenly, a sniper round streaks through the air, shattering against a preemptive barrier. A sniper. He stands unscathed behind the shimmering shield that absorbed the impact. He immediately strengthens his defense, reinforcing it to withstand an anti-tank missile. With his defenses secure, Lennox turns his attention to the hidden assailant. He sends out a pulse of mana, scanning the area for the sniper's location. His mana detection sweeps across the surrounding cityscape, but the scan reveals nothing within a 1-kilometer radius. The shooter is either too far away or using advanced camouflage. He analyzes the shot's trajectory against his barrier, and the truth hits him. He wasn't the target. The bullet was for his bounty. The sniper was sent to silence Taylor Evans. This interference cannot be allowed to stand. He draws his pistol. If anyone is going to kill his bounty, it will be him. Without hesitation, he pulls the trigger. The message must be clear. No one interferes with the hunter known as Van. Through his scope, the mysterious shooter watches the execution. Their target is dead, but not by their hand. In that moment of shock, the sniper's mana wavers, betraying their location. Lennox senses lock on to a distant rooftop. Found him. The sniper's surprise was their downfall. The assassin's blood runs cold, their position exposed. He gathers energy, preparing a common but powerful lightning spell. Arcs of raw power crackle in his hand. But just as the spell reaches its peak, he retracts the energy. The sniper watches, baffled by the sudden retreat. Then, the sky above them darkens as a storm of magical lightning forms overhead. From the ground below, Lennox unleashes his true attack, Thunder Calling. The sniper looks up in horror as a colossal bolt of lightning descends. The rooftop erupts in a devastating explosion. The spell's power is far greater in this world than it ever was in the game. As smoke billows from the obliterated building, he marks this as a new milestone. The backlash of such immense power leaves him gasping for breath. Even with his knowledge, consecutive high-tier spells still tax his weak body. With no trace of the sniper, he concludes they somehow escaped the blast. But the warning has been sent. The hunter van is not to be trifled with. Later, Lennox returns to the underworld bar to complete his job. He unceremoniously drops a body bag on the floor. Here, he announces to the stunned room, "This is Taylor Evans." The patrons are speechless at how quickly he completed the bounty. Even the stoic bartender's composure cracks. He recovers, asking Lennox to bring the body through the back. Exhausted, Lennox agrees, letting the bartender handle the bag. In a sterile back room, the bartender unzips the bag for verification. He asks for a moment to confirm the target's identity. The check is swift and professional, noting the gunshot wound and damaged ears. The bartender confirms the kill and prepares the reward. It'll be 270,000 sell after deducting the processing fee. He also offers other, specialized financial services. Just then, the broker Jenny enters the room. "Well, that was quick. I guess you needed money urgently, huh?" She explains that for most hunters, just finding the target takes all the time. She leans in, her eyes glinting with curiosity. "So tell me, what kind of talent are you?" He dismisses the incredible feat as nothing more than luck, maintaining his cover. Satisfied for now, Jenny agrees to work with him again. But she denies him another job. First, they must deliver the body and investigate. He agrees, admitting it's far too early for her to trust him. She playfully compares their new partnership to dating, a game of slowly building trust. After he's gone, Jenny is left to ponder the enigmatic hunter. But the bartender, Gramps, has bypassed the scavenger network and found something. He shows her footage of Van's mission that should not exist. Her world shatters as she witnesses the raw, impossible power of thunder calling. With his pay collected, Lennox arrives at the Balkan City Library with a singular purpose. His mission is urgent: find a way to extend the lifespan of his new body, which is being burned away by the penalties of the karma system. He begins with the Fundamentals, a book on basic magic theory. He devours the pages, absorbing the knowledge of this new world. Soon, he finds a concept he recognizes from the game: the mana pattern, a unique magical thumbprint for every mage. Following the instructions, he prepares to manifest his own. Bright blue energy erupts around him as he focuses his will. In his palm, his unique mana pattern takes form. He recalls that only level 8 archmages can alter their pattern, a feat of incredible power. Curious, he decides to test the limits of his own abilities. A complex, shimmering glyph of pure mana appears at his command. The pattern shifts and warps as his immense power flows outwards. He has no benchmark for a level 8 mage, but the power thrumming at his fingertips is absolute. Holding a condensed orb of pure energy, he knows his talent is beyond question. Hours pass in the sun-drenched, silent library. But after extensive reading, a terrible truth dawns on him. The common magic he wields with ease doesn't seem to exist in this world. The books state magic is divided into two categories: unique magic, a single, specialized, and powerful spell, and common magic, versatile spells applicable to many situations. This was the system he knew from the game World 2.0's. If common magic is a myth here, then what has he been using? His research has hit a dead end, leaving him with only more questions. Suddenly, a woman's voice cuts through the silence, advising him to give up. He looks up to see a stranger approaching his table. She tells him to abandon his hopeless dream of becoming a mage. The unsolicited advice catches him completely off guard. Patting his stack of books, she insists that false hope only breeds pain. He can only stare back, utterly bewildered. She pities his effort, suggesting he study a more practical field like engineering. Magic, she lectures, is learned at a university he could never hope to enter. Talent and luck are everything. Hard work alone is not enough. She concludes that simple passion is worthless in this field. Lennox listens in silence, his expression unreadable. The woman falters, questioning why she's unloading on a complete stranger. She dismisses him, announcing that the library is closing. But as she turns, his question stops her cold. "Is that from your own experience?" He points out that as a student herself, it's too early for her to give up. He stands, flipping her own words back at her: "Try everything before you quit." His response leaves her utterly speechless. As he walks away, she calls out to him. She closes the distance, placing a golden card on his chest. She calls him ridiculous for twisting her cynical advice. But as she leaves, she offers to show him some real magics if he returns. He watches her go, bewildered by the odd woman. He glances down at the card she left him. It's the business card of Aris Richelin, chair professor of elemental magic. He walks on, musing that the professor looked younger than he does. A glimpse of his own tired reflection is a stark reminder of his borrowed time. Pushing magic aside, he decides to focus on a simple task: buying groceries. With his body's poor constitution, A nutritious meal is a necessity. Suddenly, a shout about a check puts him on high alert. As an unregistered person, he casts a nervous glance toward the commotion. He sees an officer conducting a routine mana pattern check on a citizen. Telling himself to stay calm, he tries to walk past without drawing attention. His greatest fear is being discovered by the authorities. But his attempt to be inconspicuous fails as a sharp voice calls out, "Hey you!" He turns to find a young woman sitting casually on a produce display. She looks up from her phone and asks a blunt question, "Did you do something wrong?" She saw his reaction to the mana check, the guilty look of a criminal. He quickly puts it together. Mana patterns are this world's version of fingerprints, used for identity verification. His observation is cut short by a question from the woman sitting barefoot on the counter. He's not speaking to an employee. She's the owner, and growing all this produce is just a hobby. The implication hangs in the air until she confirms it with two simple words, "I'm rich." She cuts through his thoughts, demanding to know if he's actually going to buy something. As he fumbles for an answer, she makes a suggestion. She offers him a special type of onion, said to be a cure for insomnia. The accuracy of her guess sends a jolt through him. She just points to the dark circles under his eyes, proof he desperately needs it. But as she bags his purchase, the casual atmosphere vanishes. She looks him dead in the eye, commenting on how unique his mana signature is. In an instant, his carefully constructed cover is blown. Her own powerful green mana erupts as she demands to know what a mage is doing in her shop. He tries to deny it, but his own unstable blue mana flares defensively, betraying him completely. She reads his energy with ease, correctly deducing he's not from Balkan. The horrifying truth dawns on him. She can analyze his mana without any equipment at all. Then, after shattering his composure, she simply hands over the groceries. Ignoring the magical confrontation, she casually states the price, 32,000 sell. He makes a swift retreat, her cheerful "come again" echoing behind him. Walking away, he suspects she must have seen the residual magic from the sniper attack. Whether she possesses a unique skill or is just an overwhelmingly powerful mage, the conclusion is the same. She is a threat he cannot afford to underestimate. The close call forces him into hiding, where he buries himself in research, desperate to master this world's magic. But his work yields nothing, and his frustration mounts. Worse, his body is failing, and the cheap medicine is no longer enough to keep him going. Desperation leads him back to the broker, Jenny, who already knows what he's come for, a new identity. She scoffs at his question, with enough money, anything is possible. But she warns him that true anonymity has a steep price. She quotes an astronomical figure, 20 million sell. The price is far beyond his reach. Sensing his dilemma, Jenny reveals she has a solution, a lucrative new job. He needs money, and she needs a specialist. This isn't some back-alley bounty hunt, it's a high-paying corporate contract. He has no taste for chasing madmen, but Jenny assures him this job is nothing like that. She leads him to a private room away from any listening ears. The target is a new, government-funded makeup factory owned by the Charlotte Corporation. And the rumor is, their miracle moisturizer was developed through illicit human testing. The words human testing hang in the air, and suddenly, he's listening very carefully. Jenny explains Charlotte's reputation for anti-aging tech so advanced it can regenerate dead skin. The rumors get darker, with whispers of researchers stripping the very skin from a person's face. He questions why they need him if the corporation's evil is already public knowledge. Jenny laughs. A corporation with government backing doesn't care about bad press. She reveals the client, a rival company, Varitz Corporation, looking to eliminate the competition. Varitz has two offers: infiltrate the factory and hack their data for 350 million sell, or destroy the factory completely for a much more attainable 50 million. He immediately dismisses the first option as a suicide mission, and Jenny agrees. The absurdly high payout was just bait. The real job is demolition. With a clear path to the money he desperately needs, he accepts the contract. Delighted, Jenny announces she'll introduce him to his partner for the mission. A partner? She never said anything about a partner. Before he can argue, a figure drops from the ceiling above. A massive form lands with a heavy thud, kicking up dust. A man in a full-body red suit strikes a pose, greeting them with a casual, "Yo." Van can only stare in disbelief at the bizarre mercenary. Jenny introduces the man as Dylan O'Casey, a mercenary affiliated with Antares, famous for being cheap. Dylan playfully complains that's a terrible way to make a first impression. After introductions, Lennox gives his alias, Van, and his specialty, Lightning Mage. He turns back to Jenny, demanding to know why a partner was necessary. Dylan cheerfully explains he could have done it alone, but waited because Jenny said the budget could fit too. He gives her an enthusiastic thumbs up, which is met with an icy, unimpressed stare. Van calmly informs Jenny that he expects to be notified of partners in the future, and she grudgingly agrees. He gets down to business, asking how the 50 million will be split. But Jenny surprises them both. To apologize for the miscommunication, she's waiving her commission. Dylan erupts with joy at the news of a bigger payday. But Van's mind races. Is this a genuine apology, or is Jenny testing his boundaries? He decides it doesn't matter. He knows how to handle brokers like her. With the team settled, Jenny silences the still celebrating Dylan. The operation is a go, and it's time to review the factory blueprints. A new mission brings Lennox and his partner Dylan to the high-tech metropolis of District 42. This is the corporate heart of the city, a perfect place to hide secrets in plain sight. As they approach the target, the streets fall unnervingly silent. His new partner, Dylan O'Casey, breaks the silence, impressed that their broker Jenny holds Lennox in such high regard. She even waived her fees, a courtesy Dylan has never received. Lennox now knows the mercenary was listening to his entire conversation back at the bar. Then, in a surprising move, Dylan offers him a business card. Lennox eyes the card, questioning the gesture. He cuts straight to the point. This is a recruitment attempt. Dylan doesn't deny it, arguing it never hurts to have powerful friends. He boasts about his team of fighters, laying on the sales pitch. The pitch falls on deaf ears. His attempt failed. Dylan begs him to keep it a secret from their broker. The mercenary's audacity pulls a smirk from Lennox. He'll judge Dylan by his work, not his words. They arrive at their destination, a sprawling factory complex named Charlotte. The intel was right. The security is a joke. From a nearby rooftop, Lennox confirms the security isn't just lax, it's dangerously sloppy. Dylan admits only a specific request from their client, Varitz, would bring him to such a place. The guards are from 888, a bottom-tier firm that hires ex-convicts. For Lennox, this just means he won't have to hold back. But as he moves to begin, Dylan stops him. He points out a critical flaw. Lennox is about to infiltrate with his face exposed. His solution is a ridiculous ski mask. Lennox brushes him off, walking away. Dylan argues against the risk. If Lennox is identified, they might hunt him down as an associate. His plea falls on deaf ears, and Dylan's shoulders slump in defeat. As a concession, Lennox pulls his collar up over his nose and mouth. It will have to do. With that settled, the operation begins. The plan is simple. Dylan creates a diversion while Lennox slips in to destroy the core. The only unknown variable is his unpredictable new partner. Without hesitation, Dylan launches himself at the guards. A lone guard turns, caught completely by surprise. Before he can react, Dylan's hand covers his face. He smashes the man's head into the pavement with brutal force. From the shadows, even Lennox is impressed by the raw power on display. Another guard spots the takedown and cries out. He barely gets a word out before Dylan appears from the darkness. A single, lightning-fast elbow strike silences him for good. 2 down. Dylan cheerfully signals his progress, but his celebration is cut short by a new sound. A third guard frantically reports an intruder over his radio. He's describing the very man now standing behind him. A distant scream confirms Dylan's brutal efficiency, and Lennox concedes Jenny has a good eye for talent. With the diversion in full swing, Lennox takes out his Viper Enhancer. A surge of blue energy flows through him. His own part of the mission can now begin. As expected, the warehouse door is locked tight. But that's no obstacle for a man with the right tools. He activates his new mana etcher. The device's beam melts through the electronic lock in seconds. He slips inside the darkened corridor of the Charlotte factory, but his entry is not as silent as he hoped. A nervous guard orders him to raise his hands. Lennox assesses the threat, not a mercenary, just a regular employee. He chooses a non-lethal solution, casting Nature Sleep. The guard is enveloped in a disorienting green mist. He slumps to the floor, unconscious. This civilian doesn't need to be caught in the explosion. He casts Marionette, a spell of control. The puppet guard stands and marches himself out of the building. With the obstacle removed, he proceeds deeper into the facility. He follows the directory, heading for the factory's core. As the sounds of Dylan's rampage echo from outside, Lennox strides confidently into the depths of the factory. But the factory holds more than just corporate secrets. Outside the Charlotte factory, a lone guard panics, wildly opening fire into the night. A bag smashes into his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Amidst the unconscious guards, Dylan O'Casey steps into the light, unimpressed by the commotion. With the ground floor clear, the mercenary scales the factory wall. He scans the vast, silent factory floor, finding no more opposition. But his concern for his partner, Lennox, is cut short. A faint red line appears at his feet, a hunter's mark. Suddenly, a web of laser sights converges on his body. On the upper catwalks, an entire platoon has him surrounded. But Dylan just grins at the overwhelming odds. With all his targets gathered in one place, his job just became much easier. The security leader gives him 5 seconds to surrender. Dylan takes their coordinated attack as a compliment, his hand inching toward his blade. He tells them they've saved him the trouble of hunting them down. In a bloody flash, he blitzes through the first line of guards. He moves like a phantom, a blur of red and black through their ranks. Bullets spark harmlessly off the metal around him as he weaves through the gunfire. He closes the distance to the remaining targets in a heartbeat. The guards on the catwalks unleash a desperate volley from above. But even at point-blank range, their bullets find no purchase. A single punch cracks a guard's high-tech visor. The last man stands frozen, unable to track his assailant's impossible speed. With a final, brutal rush, the last of the security team falls. Holding up his final victim, Dylan stands victorious over the fallen. Meanwhile, Lennox has infiltrated the factory's control room. He surveys the machinery, confirming the layout matches their intel. He locates his target, the valve for the temperature control system. Releasing the flammable gas will be enough to destroy the entire facility. With a heavy turn, he floods the factory with a highly combustible payload. With the factory now a powder keg, he prepares the spark. Using elementary ignition magic, he conjures a small waiting flame. He plans to set the spell on a delay, giving them time to escape. He owes this new technique to the mysterious grocery store owner. Their brief meeting sparked an idea combining simple magic into something more. This insight allows him to create far more complex and powerful effects. He weaves the simple ignition spell into a more advanced timer incantation. A complex, glowing magical circle begins to form before him. He carefully manipulates the construct, preparing to arm his magical bomb. With a final touch, he sets the detonation for 5 minutes. The spell activates, its countdown to destruction now ticking. His part of the mission is done. All that's left is to escape. But a sudden, deafening crash from the main factory floor stops him cold. A massive hole is torn through the factory's reinforced wall. Outside, Dylan is just as stunned by the sudden chaos. A powerful shockwave rips through the area as something massive breaks through. Debris and dust are thrown everywhere as the intruder makes its presence known. A knot of dread tightens in his chest. This was never part of the plan. From the dust, a monstrous reptilian creature emerges, chiding Dylan for the mess. The commotion reaches the control room, drawing Lennox to the door. He throws it open, his escape plan about to go up in flames. The sight before him shatters any hope of a clean getaway. He sees Dylan in a tense standoff with an enormous, unfamiliar beast. His mind races to identify the bipedal monster, a crocodile man. To Lennox's astonishment, Dylan greets the monster casually. They know each other. The crocodile man, Pioneer, asks after someone named Andreas. Dylan defends his boss, calling him a true pioneer. The name sends the monster into a fit of mocking laughter. Pioneer cuts to the chase, but Dylan has a question of his own. What's the price on his head? From his hiding spot, Lennox overhears the staggering fee, 10 billion. Pioneer vows to make his death quick, out of respect for their mutual acquaintance. But Dylan's bravado returns. He's not going down without a fight. Before they begin, he asks Pioneer to toss him his duffel bag. Pioneer picks up the bag, contemptuously dismissing its contents as a toy. The crocodile man obliges, throwing the bag to his opponent. As he unzips it, Dylan repeats Pioneer's dismissive word back to him. Then he reveals a massive weapon, promising that for a toy, it's going to hurt. Dylan O'Casey crashes into the concrete, his body taking the full force of Pioneer's blow. The beastman cracks his knuckles, his voice dripping with mockery. Dylan discards his failing spear and hefts a heavy axe. He roars back into the fight, refusing to stay down. But once again, Pioneer's raw power smashes him into the ground. The mercenary lies broken in a crater of his own making. Watching from the shadows, his partner Lennox scrambles for a new plan. He glances at his ignite spell. The clock is ticking down, with only 2 minutes left. Dylan's sheer resilience gives him pause. The mercenary is far tougher than he ever imagined. With time running out, Lennox gathers his own mana, preparing to intervene. Pioneer scoffs at Dylan's performance, claiming he's lost the fire he once had. His words are a deliberate provocation, a test of his opponent's will. But as Dylan rises, a new, volatile energy radiates from his battered frame. He reaches behind his back, his hands closing around the hilts of 2 massive blades. A blood-red aura explodes from his body as he asks if Pioneer can feel his bloodthirst now. Dylan lunges forward, a blur of motion and steel. His blades crash against Pioneer's hide, showering the ground with sparks. The unexpected force of the blow rips a sound of surprise from Pioneer. Dylan uses the momentum to leap back, already preparing his next assault. Leaving a red afterimage in his wake, he closes the distance in an instant. Pioneer remains unnervingly calm as the blades descend from behind. Dylan's attack slices through the air in a vicious arc, but Pioneer sidesteps the blow with impossible speed. Twisting in midair, Dylan fluidly repositions for another strike. His eyes burn with intensity as he pushes his body past its limits. He unleashes a blinding flurry of slashes, filling the air with the scream of metal. Yet, Pioneer catches a full-powered swing with his bare arm, halting Dylan's assault cold. His own fist hurtles toward Dylan's face for the finishing blow. But from the darkness, Leenock unleashes a torrent of crackling blue energy. Lightning bind. The massive beastman is engulfed in a cage of pure electricity. Dylan turns to see his partner, holding the spell with every ounce of his strength. He seizes the opening, their one and only chance. Caught in the electric trap, Pioneer snarls with rage. Leenock pours more power into the spell, blasting his target with a blinding torrent of lightning. With Pioneer immobilized, Dylan leaps high into the air. He dives down, blades aimed for the head, to end the fight. But just as his blades descend, a massive tail whips through the air. The blow shatters his attack, sending him flying across the room. Before Dylan can recover, Pioneer's hand clamps around his throat. Pioneer chuckles, amused that Dylan brought a mage to their little reunion. He dismisses their desperate plan as nothing more than a cute attempt. With his grip tightening, he promises to deal with the mage next. He draws back his fist for the final blow. The punch connects with devastating force. Dylan is launched backwards, smashing straight through the factory wall. His body sails through the night air. He crashes onto the pavement outside, limp and broken. With Dylan dispatched, Pioneer turns his attention to his next target. Leenock's blood runs cold. His lightning bind barely scratched the monster. He forces himself to move, his priority shifting from attack to rescue. He spots his partner's unmoving form on the concrete below. Rushing to his side, Leenock finds him alive, but delirious from the pain. His partner is a dead weight, and Leenock lacks the strength to carry him. There is only one choice left, a risk he swore he'd never take. He casts reinforcement magic, flooding his own frail body with raw power. This is the curse of his mana addiction, a trait that could consume him. Ignoring the danger, he heaves Dylan's body onto his shoulders. They have to be far away before his final trap is sprung. Back in the factory, Pioneer pauses, his instincts screaming that something is wrong. He calls out into the empty warehouse, demanding the mage show himself. A cold dread washes over him, the silence is the trap. In the control room, the magic sigil left behind blazes with impossible light. The timer hits 0. The spell ignites the gas-filled air, turning the room into the heart of an inferno. The entire Charlotte factory erupts, with Pioneer trapped at the center of the blast. A magical barrier shields them from the blast, but the force is still immense. Dylan lies broken on the ground, his body shattered by the impact. Battered and trembling, Leenock struggles to push himself upright. His body screaming in protest, he reaches for a desperate solution. He takes the dangerous stimulant, forcing his damaged body to obey. Dylan questions his use of a physical strengthening drug. He knows such stimulants carry severe side effects, yet Leenock takes it without hesitation. As power floods his system, Leenock believes the fight is finally over, but Dylan yanks him to his feet, warning him that they have to run. Leenock can't believe their target could have survived such a massive explosion. Dylan is certain and stunned that the young mage doesn't know who they're fighting. Their opponent is Croconacillus, an executive from the infamous criminal organization Pandemonium. As if summoned by his name, the fiery rubble begins to stir. The ground explodes upward as something immense forces its way out. A monstrous, toothy grin emerges from the smoke. Croconacillus stands wreathed in flame, completely unharmed and ready to kill. Dylan explains that Crocon is a feared war mercenary. After retiring, he joined Pandemonium, a global syndicate of the world's worst criminals. A distant crash signals the end of their conversation. Crocon smashes through a wall, resuming his hunt. The beast charges, wreathed in a fiery, murderous aura. Dylan can only curse as the unkillable monster bears down on them. With no other choice, he screams for Leenock to run. But the creature is impossibly fast, his clawed foot cracking the concrete. He shatters the ground, closing the distance in an instant. His massive form looms over them, ready to strike. In a blur of motion, Crocon delivers a devastating blow. Leenock barely dives clear as the shockwave rips through the air. Dylan is swatted aside like an insect, sent flying in a spray of blood. With a thunderous crash, Crocon slams the ground where Leenock just stood. The pavement shatters under the sheer, overwhelming force. Leenock pants for breath. This monster's power is beyond anything he's ever faced. His predatory eyes find the mage, and he mocks his skinny frame. Leenock glances toward his fallen partner. A faint cough confirms Dylan is alive, but he's in no condition to flee. There is no escape. He must fight this monster head-on. He steels his resolve for the fight of his life. Kroken towers over him, asking if he was the one who dared attack with lightning. Lennox's response is cold and direct. "You're not human." The beast laughs, but his amusement is fleeting. The boy must die for interfering. His eyes narrow, filled with killing intent. Declaring he has to earn his pay, Kroken lunges forward for the kill. Just before the blow lands, Lennox's eyes flare with purple light as he calmly casts his spell. Tendrils of dark magic erupt from the ground, wrapping around Kroken's charging form. The magical energy coils around his arm, halting his attack instantly. The gravity spell surges, dragging the monster's momentum to a dead stop. Stunned, Kroken looks down at the magic circle binding him. The dark tendrils ensnare his entire body, completely immobilizing him. Forced to one knee, the beast can only laugh at the nifty tricks. Lennox knows the spell is amplified by the target's weight. It should be impossible to escape. But Kroken scoffs at his confidence, challenging him to test that theory. The purple energy strains and begins to snap under his raw power. Lennox's eyes widen. A single spell will not be enough to hold him. He casts again and again, layering multiple gravity binds to reinforce his hold. Kroken laughs, boasting that a few strings can't withstand his strength. But even the reinforced tethers shred against his sheer unstoppable force. A new set of binds suddenly clamps around his jaw, silencing him. With the monster's roars finally gone, Lennox allows himself a small, satisfied smirk. But the victory is temporary, and he knows it. To win, he'll have to use everything he has left. Kroken strains against the binds on his mouth, the magic at its breaking point. With a final, furious roar, he shatters the bindings on his face. The backlash hits Lennox, who grunts in pain as the monster begins to break free. The powerful spell shatters completely as Kroken wrenches his arm loose. Now nearly free, he promises to rip the mage apart just like his magic. Panting and exhausted, Lennox offers a chilling apology in advance. He has no intention of simply letting a monster kill him. Tonight, he will hold nothing back. As a vortex of blue energy swirls around him, Lennox prepares to unleash his ultimate attack. But even pinned by gravity, Kroken taunts the young mage. Lennox remains focused, channeling an immense amount of swirling magical energy. His hands shape the complex ice magic, pouring all his remaining power into the incantation. The beast roars, shattering the ground beneath him as he resists the overwhelming pressure. But Lennox's spell is absolute, sending a torrent of ice crashing down. The sudden freezing assault catches Kroken completely off guard. The powerful magic begins to rapidly encase his body. With everything on the line, Lennox unleashes his trump card, Frost Soul. The spell is a success, trapping the monster within a massive, jagged crystal of ice. Lennox stands exhausted at the base of his colossal prison. His mana is completely gone. The cost of victory was everything he had. Just then, Dylan stirs, comically complaining that he's freezing to death. Dylan credits his survival to his Gore-Tex suit, earning a deadpan correction. Shaking off the cold, he urges Lennox that they must escape before the old man breaks free. But an ominous crack stops Lennox mid-sentence. The sound confirms his worst fear. Their victory was terrifyingly short-lived. The massive ice prison begins to shatter from the inside out. He can only stare in disbelief as the spell that took all his power fails. Dylan bluntly declares that they are royally fucked. As the ice crumbles, Dylan panics, but Lennox's resignation is absolute. With barely any mana left, he scrambles for a solution. Suddenly, a memory from his past life offers one last, desperate chance. He calmly tells Dylan he will end the fight with that, and turns to prepare. He reaches into his coat, remembering a common support magic from his world. He also recalls its most crucial detail. The spell is incredibly efficient with mana. It's time to call upon his old persona from the game, the Magic Marksman. With rapid precision, he layers multiple support spells onto the stolen firearm. The old handgun groans, glowing under the strain of immense mana. He takes aim, knowing it only needs to last for a single, decisive shot. Just then, the Frost Soul prison shatters into a million pieces. Kroken emerges from the icy remains, looking more annoyed than injured. Lennox casts one final spell, Aim Assist, his eyes glowing as he locks onto his target. He pulls the trigger. The glowing projectile streaks directly towards Kroken's head. The magically enhanced bullet makes direct impact with Kroken's eye. Instead of penetrating, it shatters against his impossibly durable skin. The force of the impact sends the monster stumbling backward. Lennox holds the smoking gun, having put his last dregs of power into the shot. Dylan can only stare, stunned to see a mage wield a firearm. Impressed by the pinpoint accuracy, he asks if the gambit worked. Believing his attack was successful, Lennox's strength finally gives out. But Kroken's voice cuts through the smoke, mockingly complimenting their very good attempt. Their hope evaporates as they realize their ultimate attack has failed. Kroken mocks them, claiming he's an opponent on an entirely different level. The impossible truth lands like a physical blow. 4 enhancement spells, stacked for a kill shot, were blocked by an eyelid. Kroken laughs, acknowledging he is indeed far beyond any normal human. Flexing his eyelid, he effortlessly expels the deformed bullet. He casually rubs his eye, admitting with a smirk that the shot still hurt a little. Utterly defeated and out of ideas, the two can only curse their terrible luck. Leonard tries to muster one last spark of magic, but his power is gone. With no other options, he draws a Viper Enhancer, preparing to wield it as a blade. Together they brace for a desperate final stand. As Kroken prepares to fight, his voice drips with condescension for the two kids. A terrifying, bloody aura erupts from his body. He roars that he's taking back his promise of a painless death. The final attack descends, an impact Lennox cannot possibly survive. As death rushes towards him, his last thought is of resignation. Suddenly, a massive, unexpected explosion of force erupts at the point of impact. In the aftermath, the ground is annihilated, their weapons lying discarded in the rubble. A golden, hexagonal barrier flickers into existence, having absorbed the deadly blow. Lennox, who had shielded his face, lowers his arm, saved by an unknown force. He opens his eyes, stunned to find a mysterious figure standing before him. In a flash of green light, a newcomer has single-handedly blocked the killing blow. Lennox looks up at his savior, a question forming on his lips. Across from them, Kroken glares, furious that his fight was interrupted. He recognizes her instantly, Evelyn, the city government's hunting dog. With glowing green eyes, she meets his gaze and passes sentence on his rampage. A new challenger slams into Kroken, the impact cratering the ground. A government agent has arrived on the scene, and she is not impressed. Kroken freezes. This was not part of his plan. He immediately tries to de-escalate, putting his hands up in a false surrender. With no shame, he points the finger at Lennox and Dylan. Dylan plays along, mocking the absurd accusation. The agent isn't buying his story for a second. She scoffs at the idea that Dylan and the battered Lennox could be responsible for this level of destruction. To Kroken, admitting to demolishing a factory is less humiliating than admitting defeat to 2 low-level mercenaries. He decides this fight is no longer worth the trouble. As he turns his back, she calls out his cowardice. But Kroken is a professional. Fighting a state agent for free is a bad deal, and he walks away. Lennox can only stare as the monster who nearly killed him simply leaves. This woman's power must be immense, and now she turns her attention to them. She dismisses any thanks, this is simply her job. But her voice triggers a memory in Lennox. His mind flashes back to the market, to the vegetable seller who sensed his magic. His savior is the woman from the vegetable stall. He gets to his feet, refusing her offered hand. She looks closer, a flicker of recognition in her own eyes. He plays dumb, his mind racing. The quiet market vendor is an elite government agent. She dismisses the thought. His mana pattern is completely different, though still strangely unique. He remembers her overwhelming presence from that day, and the masking technique he developed to hide from hunters like her. The trick worked, his identity is safe. Before she leaves, she offers a parting warning. Stay away from pandemonium if you value your life. And with a burst of power, she's gone. Lennox is left with only her name, Evelyn. Dylan breaks the silence, celebrating their narrow escape. But Lennox knows it wasn't luck, he was the one who fought Kroken head-on. To his shock, Dylan offers him the lion's share of the reward, a staggering 40 million sell. But even with the massive payday, the cost of the fight leaves a bitter taste. As Lennox reaches for another dose of Viper, Dylan tries to warn him of the danger. Lennox brushes off the advice, dismissing his partner's concern. Back in his apartment, the price of the Viper drug comes due. His body gives out, and he collapses onto his bed. For an entire week, he is completely incapacitated. He slept for 4 days straight, the overdose nearly costing him his life. He forces himself up, his body screaming in protest. This weakness will get him killed. To survive, he needs real food, more power, and better drugs. But first, it's time to collect his earnings. 10 days later, he arrives at the underworld bar to a teasing welcome from Jenny. He plays it cool, hiding the fact that he was on death's door. He scoffs, refusing to show any weakness. Instead, he asks about his partner. Jenny confirms Dylan dropped off his 40 million cell share right after the mission. She slides a briefcase across the bar. Inside is not just his share, but a 20 million cell bonus from the client, a total of 60 million. The cash is all in high denomination bills. Jenny explains, this is how the elite show sincerities with their payments. Word of his clash with the old crocodile has already spread. He admits he only survived because someone intervened, and asks about his savior. Evelyn, Jenny reveals, is a direct agent of the state, a hunter in a league of her own. He then asks about Kroken's organization, Pandemonium. Among criminals, pandemonium are considered royalty, an elite and secretive cabal. They operate in such secrecy that only top members like Kroken are ever identified. Jenny compares meeting them to a natural disaster. You don't fight it, you just pray you survive. Lennox packs away his newfound fortune. Suddenly, Dylan's calm acceptance of death makes a terrifying kind of sense. Jenny then remembers she has one more thing for him. It's the contact information for a forger who can create a new identity. She tells him to get a bank account. Moving this much cash is a liability. He agrees, but has one more favor to ask. The search for a new identity takes him deep into the city's back alleys. Following Jenny's directions, he descends into a high-tech underground workshop. A man covered in cybernetic implants is hunched over a terminal. Without turning, the man asks who's there. Lennox steps out of the shadows. Jenny sent me. To erase his past, Lennox adopts a new face and seeks out an underworld forger. The man confirms he's the one Jenny sent, ready to do business. But first, the matter of payment. Lennox hands over a case containing his fee. The forger's eyes widen at the stack of high-denomination bills, a 1 million cell payment. He explains this untraceable currency is reserved for the elite, nearly impossible for even banks to acquire. This kind of money means one thing: Jenny's new client is someone important. The forger clarifies he won't be hacking the city's network, but merely creating a digital mask. The identity is just a forgery, altering the outgoing signal for his name, age, and address. But he offers a warning: this ID won't survive close scrutiny, and a truly permanent solution is far more expensive. The price for a new life, bought and paid for, a staggering 400 million cell. Setting the impossible price aside, the forger accesses the network, preparing to resurrect the ghost of a long-missing person. With a final keystroke, the template is ready. He gestures for a new photo, asking what name he'll be taking. He chooses Evan, a public face to hide behind, separate from his underworld alias. The forger grins, promising the ID will be ready in moments. Later, back in his own skin, Lennox holds the first proof of a settled life in this world. The holographic display reads Evan Vailun, a name, a face, an entire life built on lies. For the first time, he isn't just surviving, he is living here. This ID is the first official acknowledgement of his existence since he arrived. He calls his contact, introducing himself as Van and providing his new number. Jenny answers, teasing him for taking a whole month just to get a phone. She offers sound advice: get a legitimate job to cover his tracks as a mercenary. When he agrees, she already knows what he's going to ask next. A bank account receiving unexplained income is a beacon for unwanted attention. She adds that rumors of his deeds are spreading, promising higher rewards and even direct requests from powerful clients. He listens, absorbing every word. Her tone grows friendlier, but his guard remains up. He can cooperate, but he will not trust her. Her silence is the most suspicious part. She still hasn't mentioned the ice magic Dylan must have reported. Jenny scoffs at the cheap goods, but admits she knows a few suppliers. She warns him that continuing to use such a low-grade product will eventually destroy his body. Instead, she offers him the contact for a Viper expert in the 30s district. The atmosphere there, she notes, is vastly different from the slums of the 40s. It's a district of large-scale facilities, amusement parks, resorts, and industrial port complexes. She jots down an address in District 31 and slides it across the bar. He takes the note, observing that she asked no questions about why he needed it. Is she building trust by keeping his secrets, or setting the stage for a future betrayal? He won't wait to find out. He'll learn where her loyalties truly lie on his own terms. His destination is a massive, domed botanical garden floating on the water. An odd choice for a dealer's hideout. Since Jenny sent him, he'll use his underworld alias, Van. He enters the courtyard, a place bustling with families and tourists. He moves through the crowd, melting into the background as he heads deeper inside. The interior is a breathtaking, futuristic jungle. Visitors admire the exotic, magically infused flora thriving inside the high-tech greenhouse. A cloud of small, glowing organisms floats peacefully through the air. Even in the cold heart of Balkan, a place of such strange beauty can exist. He spots his destination, casually discards the note, and heads over. A side building contains a gift shop and an exit his target. He steps inside the shop, the front for the entire operation. Among the souvenirs, he finds the inconspicuous door he's looking for. A simple plaque confirms it, staff only. He opens the door to a dark stairwell leading down. He descends into the facility's hidden underbelly. At the bottom, an eerie green light marks the path forward. The air is thick with the distinct smell of Viper solution, though the scent is different from what he's used to. He walks down the glowing corridor, certain he's found the dealer's den. He pushes open the door at the end of the hall. A thick, green vapor overwhelms his senses. The room is a sophisticated lab, filled with vats of the glowing green concoction. From the shadows, a voice demands to know who he is. Lennox steps into the light, stating that Jenny sent him. The dealer scoffs at the name of the brat who sells alcohol in District 49. The man's strange, dismissive reaction is a clear warning. His eye flashes a menacing green as he delivers a fatal truth. Jenny never had permission to be here. Lennox has tracked down a specialist in the city's underbelly. The alchemist makes his terms clear. He works for anyone who can pay the price. He leads Lennox into his orchard, a lab filled with arcane botany. Exotic plants, glowing with magical energy, grow in high-tech containment units. Lennox questions why a simple garden would need such elaborate equipment. In response, the expert presents a strange red flower, testing his knowledge. He explains the aeonium flower is a potent ingredient for energy and physical enhancement. With a sinister smile, he boasts that his self-sufficiency means he's a seller, not a buyer. Getting straight to business, Lennox places a low-grade viper on the counter, asking for something similar. The alchemist inspects the cheap injector with a discerning eye. He carefully extracts a small sample of the blue liquid. To Lennox's astonishment, the man tests the drug by tasting it himself. He spits the sample out, his disgust confirming its poor quality. The alchemist scoffs, wondering why anyone would want such ineffective trash. Lennox clarifies that it wasn't for physical enhancement, it was for his mana. This new information catches the alchemist's attention. He explains that this type of drug only boosts mana for physical combatants, not for casting magic. The only exception, he muses, would be for a high-class mage, but he dismisses the idea. A sudden clarity cuts through the confusion. The viper works so well because he is a high-class mage. The alchemist casually tosses the cheap vipers in the trash, warning their side effects make them worthless. Unfazed, Lennox asks for a more expensive version and is asked for his price range. He places a stack of bills on the counter, 2 million sell. The alchemist's greedy smile says it all. A deal has been struck. Meanwhile, at the underworld bar, the neon lights hum a moody tune. Jenny broods over her last encounter with Van. She wonders aloud if Dylan noticed that Van wasn't just a simple lightning mage. The bartender doubts Dylan would miss something so obvious. She agrees, even a brawler would know the difference between lightning and ice. The truth dawns on her. Van didn't just use two types of magic, he was hiding his true power. The bartender asks if her fixation on the boy is simple envy. She admits his skill is impressive, but his unusually humble personality for a mage is what truly stands out. He advises her to be patient and simply keep offering him good work. After the last corporate disaster, she doubts he'll take another office job. She decides to search for mercenary or gang-related work instead. Since he already worked with Dylan, a mercenary, he should be fine with the new direction. But the bartender issues a stern warning. He is only helping because a man named Kaiser asked, and her impatience could ruin everything. Jenny just weighs off his concerns, already absorbed in her search. He can only sigh and walk away, leaving her to her schemes. Back in the lab, the alchemist returns with the product. He presents a case full of high-grade vipers, the Cashade C107 model. He details its effects, 6 hours of reinforcement, followed by headaches and vomiting. For 2 million sell, he claims, this is the best product with the fewest side effects available. Lennox accepts the harsh trade-off. Power always has a price. The dealer adds that while better versions exist, the cost would be astronomical. Lennox then notices a vial with a different design. He casually compares the unfamiliar model to a common product from the Calvin Cubs Corporation. The comparison to mass-market junk sends the alchemist into a wild fury. But at the sight of his paying customer turning to leave, the dealer quickly changes his tune. Elsewhere, in a mercenary headquarters, 2 letters of resignation sit on a table. A frustrated man can't believe the 2 mages he just hired have already quit. Dre Krimgar, captain of the Krimgar mercenary group, is livid. His subordinate, Wayon, cheekily reminds him that a little kindness might have kept them around. Dre's frustration explodes across the room. He rants that he gave them the easiest job possible, and they still walked out. Another merc, Kithel, jokes that the mages were just too fragile, while his partner Ike tries to calm the situation. Desperate, Dre stresses that he absolutely needs a mage for their next high-stakes mission. Just then, an incoming call interrupts the argument. He answers to hear a familiar voice, Jenny, asking if he happens to need a mage. For the desperate captain, the call is a miracle. He frantically confirms he needs 2, but she tells him she only has 1. Despite his disappointment, he listens as she guarantees this 1 mage is better than 2. Carrying his purchase, Lennox walks through the city streets. He has a glimpse of his true potential, and now, he has the arsenal to unleash it. In a quiet corner of the city, Lennox establishes a new safe house. Inside, he centers his mind, preparing to turn this simple house into a fortress. Raw magical energy answers his call. For any other mage, this level of defense would require an elaborate magic circle, but for him, such rituals are unnecessary. He weaves the barrier directly into the fabric of space, enveloping the entire property. Next, a security layer is installed, a firewall against any magical intrusion. The lock clicks into place, sealing the perimeter. He adds a counterattack spell, ready to strike down invaders with searing lightning. As a final layer, a gravity bind trap will root any trespasser to the floor. With his fortress complete, he can finally prepare for the war to come. His first priority is survival, and he weighs his next move. But his planning is cut short. It's his broker Jenny with an offer of work. He agrees to the meeting and prepares to head out. Hanging up, an idea sparks. The phone is more than a communication device. He searches for news on the Charlotte factory incident he caused. The official report blames a simple gas leak, burying the truth of what really happened. The Charlotte Corporation is covering its tracks. He sets the phone down, processing the corporate deceit. In this city, powerful forces move in the shadows, beyond his control. From now on, he will have to be far more careful. The thought brings him back to his near-death battle with Kroken of Pandemonium. That fight taught him a brutal lesson. Magic alone won't keep him alive. On his bed sits the next step in his evolution. A delivery from a shop called Gun Barrel. He unpacks a modern pistol, a tool to supplement his arcane power. At the underworld bar, Jenny briefs him on a new job from the Krimgar mercenary office. The mission is to reclaim a building, and they need a mage for fire support, hence the high reward. She confirms that in Balkan City, mages are a rare and expensive commodity. He had expected his next job to be from Antares, not a mercenary group. Still, he agrees to hear the details. The target is a gang known as Scavenger, who have seized a corporate office. The building's owners hired Krimgar to retrieve sensitive data at any cost. So his employers are the mercenaries, and he'll be providing covering fire. Jenny simplifies the mission. Just stay back and unleash his power. Sensing his hesitation, she reminds him that surviving Kroken has made him a hot commodity. But she advises him to take this job, arguing that mercenaries are more trustworthy than corporations. He questions how common betrayal is in the underworld. Jenny gives him a blunt warning. The city is full of psychos who would kill a freelancer rather than pay them. This grim reality is her best sales pitch. A good broker, she boasts, guarantees that everyone walks away happy and paid. A sly smile crosses his face. His decision is made. He accepts the job, and she gives him the rendezvous details. At dawn the next day, he arrives at the meeting point in District 53. The entire Krimgar mercenary group is already there, waiting. Their leader, Dre Krimgar, notes the time. The mage is due any minute. A merc named Wayon asks the captain what he thinks of their new hire. Dre admits he's gambling 20 million sell on Jenny's word. Another mercenary, Kithel, is impressed by his lightning specialty, but Dre is more concerned about his character. Just then, the heavy hitter Ike spots someone approaching. Wayan smiles, assuming it's their expensive support, but the figure that emerges is not what any of them expected. Lennox strolls in, casually finishing a sandwich, radiating pure indifference. He introduces himself to the dumbfounded mercenaries as Mage Van. He confirms he's in the right place, taking another bite of his breakfast. Dre and Kithel can only stare, stunned by his unprofessional demeanor. Kithel, unimpressed, snaps at him for eating right before a mission. He deadpans that he's having dinner, complaining about the terrible sandwich. Her patience shatters, but Dre steps in to de-escalate. The captain calmly reminds him of the 20 million sell price tag and his expectations. Having finished his meal, Lennox simply agrees to do his part. With the awkward introduction over, Dre signals for the briefing to begin. He brings up a holographic schematic of their target building. The assault plan is projected for the team. Their primary objective, secure the power server on the 3rd floor. He warns them that while the scavengers aren't elite, they are all mana users. Unit 2, led by Wayan, will secure the objective on the 3rd floor. Meanwhile, Unit 1 under Kithel will breach the 2nd floor while he and Ike take the 1st. Lennox listens, impressed. Dre is a competent, natural-born leader. Finally, the captain gives him his orders. Initiate the assault, then support Unit 3 from the rear. With all roles assigned, Dre gives the final command, begin the operation. The Krimgar mercenaries move as one, their mission clear. They arm themselves with a mix of high-tech firearms and mana-infused blades. Among them, Wayon readies his specialized rifle, its core glowing with latent energy. In a world where mana reinforces the body, a versatile arsenal is a tactical necessity. But against impossible odds, soldiers know that only magic can truly turn the tide. And in the world of mercenaries, a skilled mage is the ultimate weapon. They arrive at the scavenger gang stronghold, a fortified office block at dusk. Guards are posted at every entrance, expecting an attack. From a hidden vantage point, Captain Dre scopes out the enemy's defenses. He turns to his new mage with a warning. There's a chance they have a mage of their own. Any sign of magic, and he needs to know immediately. Lennox gives a calm nod, his expression hidden. He extends his own mana, weaving a net to sense any rival spell. Instantly, he feels it, a foreign spell, a magical eye spreading through the area. His third eye activates, revealing the enemy's attempt to count their numbers. But in their search for intel, they've given him a direct line to their caster. Lennox grabs onto the enemy's vision strand, a tether leading straight back to its source. Without hesitation, he sends his own destructive mana surging back along the connection. His counterspell bypasses the oblivious guards, homing in on its target. It snakes through the corridors, stopping at a single closed door. Inside, the scavenger's mage sits completely unaware his spell has been hijacked. From the shadows outside, a smirk plays on Lennox's lips. Found you. The enemy mage cries out as his spell is violently corrupted from the outside. The destructive rebound from his own broken magic surges back into his body. The magical backlash is devastating, incapacitating him in an instant. His comrades can only watch as their mage collapses for no apparent reason. Lennox turns to a stunned Dre, reporting he's already neutralized the enemy's trump card. Inside, panic erupts as the scavengers confirm their mage is down. Seizing the moment, Dre gives the order to advance. The Krimgar mercenaries surge forward, launching a full-scale assault. They lead the charge with a volley of smoke grenades. The canisters land perfectly, engulfing the front line in a thick, disorienting cloud. Through the smoke, the mercenaries crash into the blinded and confused enemy. The scavengers fight back, desperately trying to hold their ground. While his comrades engage in fierce combat, Lennox strolls toward the fray. He pulls out a high-grade enhancer, deciding it's the perfect time for an experiment. The powerful drug floods his system, amplifying his mana to an incredible degree. His role is fire support, and so he gathers crackling electricity in his hands. He unleashes chain lightning. Brilliant arcs of blue energy leap from his hands, surging towards the enemy. The scavengers scream as they are caught in the overwhelming tide of power. Captain Dre turns from the fight, his eyes wide at the scale of the attack. His fellow mercenaries, Kithel and Ike, can only stare at the raw power on display. Wayan, however, lets out a cheer, thrilled by the incredible sight. The crackling energy subsides, leaving Lennox untouched at the center of the storm. With the enemy shattered, Dre roars for his team to press the attack. Dre leads the charge, cutting down the day's survivors. He carves a path through their broken lines. He stops his blade an inch from a man's neck, then finishes him with a brutal kick to the face. Nearby, Wayan shows his own skill, deftly parrying a knife attack. Thinking he sees an opening, the scavenger lunges, but the opening was a trap. Wayan smashes the man in the face with the butt of his weapon, knocking him cold. He casually twirls his gunblade, remarking that creating such openings is his specialty. But from a nearby rooftop, a sniper takes aim at the distracted Wayan. Before he can fire, a single, precise shot takes him out. The shot came from Kithel, who scoffs at the attempt on her team's youngest member. Her sharp eyes immediately spot more movement. The fight is far from over. Scavenger reinforcements surge from inside the building, laying down heavy fire. Two mercs shout a warning and leap over their captain. They slam down massive tactical shields, weathering the hail of bullets. Dre calls for the shell method, a tactic the shield bearers instantly recognize. They begin a tense 3-second countdown, bracing for impact. On 3, they violently shove the shields forward into the enemy line. The scavengers are staggered by the sudden, brutal impact. A concussive blast from the shield sends a powerful shockwave through their ranks. The entire enemy front line is thrown from their feet. Wayan breathes a sigh of relief, impressed by his comrades' teamwork. But the remaining gang members, enraged and desperate, charge forward with melee weapons. Annoyed by the endless waves, Dre and Ike prepare to end it. Amidst the chaos, Dre's eyes lock onto a new threat. A large, formidable man at the center of the enemy group. It has to be their leader. But before Dre can shout a warning, the leader explodes forward with incredible speed. He barrels past the frontline fighters, his target clear. He's making a beeline directly for the team's mage. The scavenger leader leaps through the air, dagger raised for an assassination. He lands before Lennox, identifying him as the lightning mage who crippled their forces. Vowing to turn the tables, he lunges forward for the killing blow. The killing blow descends, aimed at a man who hasn't even flinched. As the scavenger leader charges, Lennox stands his ground. His gaze is unnervingly calm, but instead of casting a spell, his hand moves to his side. He draws a pistol, proving a mage can be just as deadly with a firearm. A single, precise shot rings out, dropping the leader in his tracks. The man chokes, a fatal wound blossoming on his chest. Linak lowers the still-smoking gun, completely unfazed. His handiwork is, in his own mind, satisfactory. This wasn't just skill, it was shooting assist magic. 3 enchantments turn the pistol into a supernaturally precise weapon. Dre is floored not just by the kill but by the impossible speed of the draw. For Kithal and Weian, their new recruit just became a legend. Dre can only wonder at the value of a mage with such skills. Ike confirms the entrance is clear. With the first threat neutralized, Kithal orders Unit 1 into position. Her mercenaries rappel up the building's exterior with practiced skill. The entire team moves with lethal efficiency. Kithal's squad takes position, ready to breach the next level. Inside, the remaining scavengers brace for the assault. Kithal sights her target and yells for cover fire. A fierce firefight erupts, pinning the enemy down. Weian's Unit 2 uses the distraction to advance. They quickly scale the wall to reach their assigned floor. In the chaos of the climb, Weian accidentally uses Kithal's shoulder as a foothold. But the professional soldier doesn't even flinch, returning fire without missing a beat. Below, Dre leads his own unit into the building. They begin systematically clearing out the lower floors. The mercenaries' superior training is on full display as they cut down enemy after enemy. Dre's glowing blade becomes a blur of lethal motion. Amidst the battle, Linak pauses, observing the flow of combat. He spots one last survivor, groaning as he reaches for a weapon. Without even raising his gun, he ends the fight with a jolt of lightning. Dre confirms the first floor is clear. He radios Kithal for a status report on the second floor. Over the comms, he hears the unmistakable sounds of a pitched battle. She whispers back that they're locked in a standoff. Her sentence is cut short by the loud bang of a gunshot. Dre's blood runs cold as he demands to know what happened. The silence on the other end is deafening. Finally, Kithal's voice comes through. The second floor is clear. She explains the last enemy was hiding like an eel. With 2 floors secured, Dre orders the push to the third. The mercenaries storm the stairwell, meeting heavy resistance. Dre moves with deadly grace, his blade painted in blood. Linak provides overwhelming support, unleashing chain lightning that neutralizes multiple targets at once. They link up with Kithal's unit on the 3rd floor, which is now clear. Dre has to admit the new mage has been instrumental to their success. Kithal sees an opportunity and pulls her captain aside. She bluntly asks if they can hire Linak as a permanent member. Dre immediately shoots her down, insisting they can't afford him. While she dreams of the fortunes he could bring, Dre reminds her every other crew will be thinking the same thing. He cuts the chatter short and orders her back to the mission. With the building clear, Dre radios Weian on the rooftop. Suddenly, the comms erupt in a violent struggle. A garbled voice crackles through the static. "Captain." The entire team freezes. Something has gone terribly wrong. Weian, Dre screams into the radio, demanding a response. Without waiting for an answer, he bolts for the stairs. Ike urges Linak to follow, but the mage tells him to go on ahead. The mercenaries race towards the crisis on the rooftop. But Linak stops on the stairs, gasping for breath. For all his power, his body struggles to keep up with the trained soldiers. They breach the rooftop and arrive to a scene of absolute carnage. Unit 2 has been wiped out, and Dre rushes to a bleeding Weian. Just as the captain reaches his fallen comrade, Linak finally arrives. Dre takes command, ordering the use of expensive regeneration potions on the wounded. The cost is irrelevant. The lives of his team are priceless. Weian weakly apologizes, but his captain tells him he did well. While the others tend to the wounded, Linak surveys the scene with a cold, analytical eye. Every member of Unit 2 is grievously injured, but somehow, no one is dead. A skilled attacker wouldn't just wound everyone and then flee. Something is wrong. His mind pieces together the strange details of the ambush. The truth lands like a physical blow. He shatters the silence, declaring that their attacker is still here. Dre glances around, wondering why an enemy would hide instead of finishing the job. Entrusting the wounded Weian to the mage's care, he prepares to face the hidden foe. He orders the rest of the team to evacuate the injured. The remaining mercenaries form a defensive perimeter, bracing for an attack. Left alone, Dre glares at the red sky and bellows, "Where are you hiding?" A voice from above answers, mocking his surprise. A mysterious swordsman reveals himself, blade in hand. He expected guests, he just didn't expect them to arrive this early. On a blood-red rooftop, Dre confronts the mysterious swordsman who ambushed his team. He demands to know why his mercenaries were wounded, only to be left for dead. The swordsman, Hyun, scoffs at the question, asking if Dre has any idea how much this grand plan cost. He reveals the scavenger's true scope, a coordinated attack on the city's tax network server. The mercenaries' target is nothing less than the entire reserve fund of Balkan City's government. With a smirk, Hyun confirms their goal but clarifies the target is much closer than the main government building. Their plan is to destabilize a local power facility, creating a security breach at the district office holding the funds. He mockingly asks if it's truly so wrong to exploit the loopholes of a rotten establishment. But Dre sees past the rhetoric. This level of enterprise is beyond any typical criminal. Hyun just laughs, admitting it's been years since he left the front lines. Dre counters that no ordinary soldier radiates such overwhelming bloodthirst. The swordsman's eyes narrow, questioning if the mercenary captain is also more than he appears. Dre dismisses his twisted morals. For him, this is simply business. Hyun declares he didn't orchestrate this entire event just to be stopped by hired guns. He holds up a small crimson object, proclaiming that the chaos is just beginning. He scoffs at being stalled by a mere mercenary and unleashes his dark power. Dre watches as a terrifying energy erupts, twisting Hyun's form into something monstrous. He screams at his squad to stop him at all costs. Their bullets are useless as Hyun leaps from the tower, untouched by the volley. A wicked grin spreads across his face, a red orb dissolving in his mouth as he savors the coming slaughter. He lands with a thunderous stomp, smashing the concrete rooftop beneath him. The Krimgar mercenaries steel themselves as Hyun rises from the dust, his killing intent suffocating. From a safe distance, Lena calmly assesses the new, monstrous threat on the battlefield. Shrouded in a dark aura, Hyun prepares for their annihilation. One of the mercenaries desperately unloads his clip into the approaching cloud of darkness. Hyun closes the distance in an instant, his speed making a mockery of their defenses. His claws tear through the soldier's armor and into his gut. The man chokes on his own blood, felled by a single brutal blow. The chasm in power between them is laid bare before Dre's eyes. All he can do is cry out his fallen comrade's name, Jansen. Hyun holds the dying man and poses a chilling question to the terrified squad. He shoves Jansen's body aside, his hands slick with blood. The mercenaries watch in horror as he reveals their comrade's heart in his hand. He then reveals the gruesome price of his power. He must consume the living to fuel it. Observing from afar, Lennox immediately identifies the ability as a form of black magic. He recalls similar skills from his old game, World 2.0, used by classes that fed on human life. Hyun must be a vampire or blooder class, confirming that the game's systems exist in this new reality. But as predicted, Hyun clutches his chest in pain. The power comes with severe side effects. Declaring that one life isn't enough, he sets his sights on another mercenary, a woman named Dylan. He gives his blades a theatrical twirl. He lunges toward her, too fast for her to react. But Ike throws himself in front of her, raising his shield to block the attack. Hyun's weapon effortlessly shreds through the hardened shield and armor. Ike's body is torn apart by the devastating force of the blow. Before Dylan can process the sacrifice, Hyun appears directly behind her. Her eyes widen as she meets the gaze of her own death. Kithel and Dre scream her name in a desperate, futile warning. Without a moment's hesitation, Hyun brutally impales Dylan from behind. He tosses her lifeless body aside, complaining that her life force was unsatisfying. At the sight of his slaughtered team, Dre orders the final, desperate charge. His remaining men leap into the fray, aiming for a decapitation strike. Hyun stomps the ground, launching himself into the melee with blinding speed. His blade flashes through the air, leaving a trail of dismembered bodies in his wake. In an instant, he cuts through the last of the men and lunges for Dre Krimgar. Dre barely parries the strike, the force of the impact staggering him. The mercenary captain is sent flying, crashing into a wall, utterly outmatched. Suddenly, a gunshot grazes Hyun's head. It's Kithel, screaming at her few remaining men to keep firing in the desperate last stand. Unfazed, Hyun smirks. Such primitive attacks are meaningless. Wreathed in dark energy, he raises his claw and challenges them to kill him. Kithel's face drains of color. They have no way to defeat this monster. But as hope evaporates, a new power enters the battlefield. A massive bolt of lightning tears through the sky, crashing down upon the rooftop. Lena carefully controls the blast, ensuring the mercenaries and the facility remain unharmed. He anticipates an opponent of this caliber will sense and dodge the incoming attack. He knows that once Hyun dodges, the monster will immediately target him, the caster. Just as predicted, Hyun evades the lightning and drives his claws into Lennox's magical barrier. The attack shatters the shield, but Lennox has already moved. He uses the force of the blow to propel himself to a new position, his plan unfolding perfectly. The remaining mercenaries open fire, buying him a precious second. Hyun ignores them, identifying Lennox as the only true threat, but Lennox remains calm under pressure, channeling mana into his hand for the counterattack. He draws on his past life, layering support spells from his time as a magic marksman. He completes the combo with outburst acceleration, channeling immense power into his pistol. A single supercharged bolt fractures mid-flight into a storm of mana-infused bullets. The volley slams into Hyun, forcing the monster to its knees. But Lennox knows a single powerful shot is not enough to kill a creature like this. He is keenly aware of his own fragile body. One mistake in close combat will be fatal. Stealing his resolve, he closes the distance to face the danger head-on. He moves in a flash, grabbing the stunned Hyun by the throat before he can recover. Then, he unleashes a point-blank bolt spell, blasting him with a torrent of raw electricity. Hyun lets out an agonized scream as the high-voltage attack courses through him. His monstrous form cracks and short-circuits under the sustained electrical assault. Yet even as raw electricity tears his body apart, Hyun vows that he cannot be killed. Lennox looks down at the monster he has brought to its knees and asks, "Oh really?" Lennox prepares to unleash another torrent of lightning. The electrical fury slams into Hyun, but the monster doesn't even flinch. His magic ineffective, Lennox switches tactics and draws his pistol. He activates, loading acceleration, pouring his mana into the next round. The enchanted bullets find their mark, striking the creature's eyes and forehead. A shriek of pure rage tears from Hyun's throat as he clutches his ruined eye. Blinded, his wild counterattacks now swing at empty air. Seeing their chance, the remaining Krimgar mercenaries charge forward to pin him down. With their combined might, they force the struggling monster to the ground. Wheon pours all his strength into his blade, but the creature's power is overwhelming. This monstrous transformation is beyond anything Dre Krimgar has ever encountered. Out of options, he turns to the only one who might have an answer. Lennox calmly reveals the source of Hyun's power, black magic. He knows its terrible principle. Great power demands a great sacrifice. The price is always paid in human flesh and blood, fueling unnatural stamina and regeneration. And when that fuel runs out, the user is consumed by pure destructive instinct. This unstable hunger is a weakness, a flaw in the monster's combat ability. The horrifying truth lands: Hyun didn't kill everyone because he was saving them for his next meal. He explains that because of its forbidden nature, few truly understand how to fight it. But now that the creature is wounded, the impossible fight has a clear weakness. Lennox approaches the downed monster and tells the mercenaries to stand aside. With a hand on the Black Mage's shoulder, he announces that he has seen through the forbidden power. His eyes glow with pure mana, preparing to dismantle his enemy from the inside out. He forces his own energy into Hyun's body, targeting the corrupt core. His mana acts like a key, violently unlocking and pulling the twisted magic from its host. Hyun's body convulses as the very source of his power is ripped from his soul. The dark energy is purged, leaving only a broken man behind. He successfully extracts the corrupting force, condensing it into a swirling orb of raw black magic. With Hyun now powerless, Lennox gives the cold command to finish him. After the final blow is struck, he assures the shell-shocked mercenaries that the threat is over. In his hand, he holds a dangerous prize. A concentration of pure, forbidden power. Without a special container, it's impossible for any mage to hold raw mana for long. This would have been an invaluable specimen for research, but he has no way to preserve it. The missed opportunity is a bitter pill to swallow. Without a vessel, the condensed black magic begins to unravel. Wasting no more of his own mana to sustain it, he lets the orb dissolve into nothing. The battle over, Wheon approaches the mage, his face a mask of awe and disbelief. The young mercenary bluntly asks if he is some kind of genius. He confesses that seeing Lennox's meticulous control of mana made his own skills feel pathetic. Lennox hides his surprise. For Wheon to have seen his technique, his true talent might not be combat, but an innate gift for mana sensitivity. Wheon admits he's never witnessed such masterful control from any mage. After a moment's hesitation, he prepares to ask a question that could change his life. Could I become stronger if I learned to control mana like you? The battle has shattered his confidence, leaving him uncertain of his path as a mercenary. Instead of offering easy answers, Lennox places a steadying hand on his shoulder. He advises the young man to look to his own captain, a leader he can trust. The path to true strength is one he must build for himself. But once he's made up his mind, he gives him a name, a broker named Jenny, that will open the right doors. As the sun rises, the mercenaries tend to their wounded, the cost of their victory heavy in the air. Captain Dre Krimgar watches the temporary mage, his mind calculating. He approaches Lennox to formally conclude their contract. Dre offers his sincere thanks for a job that would have been impossible without him. The two men share a moment of understanding about the grim realities of their work. Nearby, corporate technicians confirm the mission's primary objectives are complete. Lennox requests a blood sample from Hun's corpse to be sent to Jenny for analysis. The deal is done. Dre transfers the 20 million cell payment along with the broker's fee. He then offers his business card, a gesture of respect and an invitation to work together again. Lennox accepts, acknowledging the potential in a future partnership. His payment secured, he bids the Krimgar mercenary group farewell. As he leaves, Kifl asks her captain why he didn't try to recruit such a powerful asset. Dre scoffs at the very idea. Recruit him? Are you serious? He explains that a mage of that caliber is sought after by the magic tower itself. They are simply out of his league. Kithel worries that if they don't secure him, next time he might be their enemy. But the captain teaches her a lesson in strategy. With powerful people, you don't make demands. Asking him to join would have ensured rejection, but leaving a good impression opens a door for the future. Against the rising sun, Dre reflects on their narrow victory. He can only do the best he can in any given moment and let the consequences unfold. All they can do now is hope their professional courtesy pays off. In the neon-soaked backstreets, Lennox arrives at the underworld bar. He's met by Dylan O'Casey, a mercenary all too eager to be his partner. But Lennox is unmoved, asking whoever said they were partners. Dylan pleads for him not to be so cold, admitting he just wants a famous friend. Lena questions why anyone would think he's famous. Dylan reveals that word of his success on the Krimgar job is already spreading. A menu to the head is Jenny's way of telling him to shut up. She steps over the downed mercenary without a second thought. The broker gets right down to business. Lennox dismisses the mission. Compared to the monsters from his past, the scavengers were nothing. Jenny smirks. The Black Mage was a retired soldier from District 51, his skills predictable. But Dylan warns him not to get complacent. Many have died underestimating the scavengers. Jenny confirms the power gap among their leadership is immense. She warns him specifically to stay away from the higher-ups in District 20. He files the information away. Jenny informs him his success has given him a new name in the underworld, the Lightning Mage. She presents him with a binder thick with job requests from clients asking for him by name. She also hands over a blood sample he requested, barely hiding her disgust. The sheer volume of offers is a testament to one fact: skilled mages are always in demand. Sensing a golden opportunity, she offers him a long-term partnership with discounted fees. When Dylan protests the special treatment, she quickly silences him. The bartender slides a drink over, on the house, a sign of respect for their new star. Lennox offers a quiet thanks. When Dylan asks for the same, Jenny demands 100,000 sell. As he complains, she simply doubles the price. Lennox calmly sips his drink, tuning out their bickering. But back in his apartment, the single drink has a violent effect. The Viper's penalty is ravaging his body from the inside out. He has no choice but to purge the alcohol before it does more damage. He collapses, his own body a fragile prison he can't escape. But there's no time to rest, he reaches for the binder. Jenny's warning echoes in his mind: choose one quest, and all others with overlapping dates are forfeit. He spreads the documents, searching for a path forward. Among the offers, one stands out: a job from the scavengers themselves. He scoffs at their audacity, hiring the man who just worked against them. It's a test from Jenny, and he won't fall for it. He quickly filters out jobs from mercenaries, gangs, and anything with a tight deadline. After narrowing it down, he examines the few remaining options. Then, a request from the Annak pharmaceutical company catches his eye. It reminds him of something he's been tracking online. He pulls up the city government's auction site, a marketplace for rare items. He's been watching Stimonia, a first-class miracle drug with a price tag of 100 million sell. He knows it's little more than a powerful stimulant, but for his penalty-ridden body, it's the only glimmer of hope. The cost is astronomical, but it's a price he must find a way to pay. His mind is made up: he will take the Annak quest. He knows it's a long shot, but working with a pharma company might provide a clue to a cure. As he browses, an urgent news alert flashes on screen. A foreign delegation is set to visit Balkan. The visit is 2 months away, another piece of information to be filed away. A week later, Lennox hits the streets to fulfill a prerequisite for his new mission. To get Annak's approval, he must prove his skills by hunting wanted criminals. He unveils his new magic marksman style, infusing his firearm with spells. The gun fires with a silent, blinding flash of magical energy. The target never sees it coming. The magic-infused bullet finds its mark. It rips through the criminal's leg, dropping him instantly. Standing over his target, Lennox assesses the results: maximum effect for minimal mana. This new combat style will serve him well until he can master more powerful magic. For now, his spells only help him shoot faster and harder. Proper support magic would be a game-changer, but that power is still out of reach. His week-long vacation complete, he returns to the underworld bar. Jenny cuts straight to the chase, demanding the Amnak contract. She knew he'd pick it. It was the only one that hadn't expired yet. Taking the file, she tells him to wait. An Amnak representative is on their way. While she makes the call, Lenik feels a presence approach. A man in a sharp suit appears, instantly recognizing him. He identifies Lenik as Jenny's new prized customer. The man brushes off introductions, stating everyone knows of the famous Lightning Mage. When confronted with rumors about hunting bounties for money, Lenik coolly confirms they're true. The man clarifies he isn't judging, explaining that in this city, a bounty means one of two things. You're either a disposable fly whose death would go unnoticed, or you're so powerful that a price on your head is meaningless. Lenok's gaze is steady. So which one are you? The man simply sets his drink down, and in a flash he flicks a magically infused card straight at Lenok's face. The attack is a sudden, deadly test of his reflexes. But Lenok's speed is otherworldly. He plucks the projectile from the air. The man can only stare, his test yielding an impossible result. Another broker puts his power to the test, but the enchanted card meets an unmovable hand. The broker's challenge floats harmlessly before him. Unfazed, he inspects the card, dismissing the petty test of skill. Impressed, the man introduces himself as Sebastian, a rival broker. Lenok accepts the business card, another player entering the game. Impressed, Sebastian guesses at the nature of his power, telekinesis. But as Sebastian makes a gesture of goodwill, a hand snatches the bottle from midair. Jenny arrives, furious, warning the poacher to back away from her client. Sebastian dismisses her anger, admitting he has other business with her. He places a briefcase on the bar, its contents a veiled threat. Jenny eyes the case, demanding to know what he's brought. Inside is a conscription notice, 2 months earlier than anyone expected. Sebastian confirms the timeline has been moved up, a city council member forcing the issue. Lenok connects the dots. He just heard about this on the news. The Philonom delegation's visit has triggered a mandatory call-up for all independent businesses. On his way out, Sebastian makes one last offer, a different class of work, with far greater rewards. He promises Lenok a future Jenny can't provide. As Sebastian departs, Jenny mutters her disgust for her rival. But even she admits his skills with the city's elite are undeniable. She won't stand in his way. A customer's loyalty is never guaranteed. Setting the rivalry aside, she announces their next client is about to arrive. They both turn to the door as their appointment enters. A nervous man peeks inside, looking completely out of his depth. Jenny confirms he's in the right place and leads him to a private room. They settle into a sterile meeting room for the briefing. Lenok questions the existence of the hidden room, but Jenny retorts that he never stays long enough to see it. She formally introduces herself and Lenok using his alias, Van. The client introduces himself as Luan Sage, a sales manager from the Amnak Corporation. He hands over the request, which Lenok has already reviewed. Luan explains his company, Amnak, is developing a new tranquilizer through crowdfunding. Once complete, the product promises a massive return on investment, but a corrupt official is using a local gang to hijack their patent. When pressed for details, Luan reveals a secret: the tranquilizer is already finished. Their plan to register the patent was compromised by an internal leak. He hands Lenok a photograph of a storage facility. The samples were moved to this building in District 54 for safekeeping. The mission is simple, he claims, just retrieve the samples and leave. Lenok's sharp gaze cuts through the lies. He demands the truth. Luan breaks into a cold sweat, feigning ignorance. But Lenok knows a simple retrieval won't solve this problem. Jenny calls him out, reminding Luan he conveniently forgot the gang. He holds up the address, questioning if they expect him to just sneak past an armed force. He lays out the real job. They don't want an errand boy, they want a soldier. And he questions if they truly thought he'd fight a war for a delivery fee. Sensing her moment, Jenny declares a price renegotiation is in order. She tells the cornered manager to find out what his company is willing to pay for a mage's power. Downstairs, she scoffs at Amnak's clumsy attempt to cheat them. She correctly guesses they were just trying to cut corners on a dangerous job. Jenny assesses the threat, a small-time gang, perhaps 100 strong. Their forces are on par with the scavengers he's already faced, but with one exception, a mixed-blood leader. With the full scope of the job now clear, he confirms he'll need more money. Jenny is confident she can secure at least 10 million sell. The meeting room door slides open. Luan has finished his call. He emerges with a weary nod. The new price has been approved. Jenny flashes a sign of victory. Later that evening, Luan drives him through the city. Luan nervously mentions that the others are already at the facility. He clarifies that Amnak hired other mercenaries as backup, though they're still outnumbered. Lenok decides to press his advantage, reminding Luan how his company tried to rip him off. The manager's hands tremble on the wheel as he stammers his apologies. Lenok's icy silence does more than any threat could. He changes the subject, asking if there are any other medicines at the storage site. Desperate to appease him, Luan confirms there are even some for his boss's personal use. Lenok asks if they have anything as simple as melatonin. Having gotten his answer, he leans back, satisfied. They finally arrive at the Amnak storage building in District 54. A group of hired guns stands guard outside, a grim welcoming party. As they pull up, Luan shakily confirms this is their hired help. Sensing trouble, Lenok tells him to stay in the car. An angry mercenary bangs on the window, demanding to know who they are. Startled, Luan identifies himself as the contact from Amnak. The mercenary leader screams at them to get out of the car. As the man tries to wrench the door open, Luan panics. The leader roars that the contract was a lie. They're 10 men against 100. As the mercenaries rage, Lennox coolly prepares a performance-enhancing drug. Without a word, he takes the combat drug. Blue mana crackles to life around him as he declares it's time to earn his pay. The mercenaries, feeling outgunned, surround their client's car and demand he face them. Their leader confronts Lenok, telling him to get lost while they handle their business. The men protest. They were never told they'd be fighting an entire gang. Lennox's voice cuts through the noise, demanding quiet. The leader lashes out, warning him that no one escapes the gang's notice. His patience gone, he throws a punch to silence Lenok for good. But Lenok sidesteps the blow, a lightning spell already crackling in his palm. A single word, bolt, and the man is sent crashing to the ground. The other mercenaries fall silent as their leader twitches on the pavement. They're dealing with a mage. Inside the car, Luan sees exactly what his company paid for. With the group's attention secured, Lenok quizzes them on what they know about the enemy gang. He looks down on the disorganized crew, dismissing their complaints as a waste of time. One of the men roars, infuriated by his dismissive attitude. But a new challenger steps forward, sneering that being a mage doesn't make him special. Fire gathers in the man's hand. He unleashes a blast of flame, proving he's no ordinary mercenary. The pyrokinetic, Leo, mocks Lenok, claiming he must be a weak mage to take such a low-paying job. Lenok smirks. 2 people with supernatural skills in one day. He identifies the man's ability as pyrokinesis, a powerful, direct, fire-type skill. But, since he's running with this rabble, he can't be that strong. Lenok taunts him back, daring him to burn the car and their client with it. Leo scoffs, declaring that a low-level mage is nothing but a burden. With a roar, he vows to turn Lenok to ash. Lenok watches him, knowing in this line of work only actions matter. The boy lunges, his fist a comet of fire. Lenok raises a hand, and a reinforced barrier stops the blow cold. The pyromancer's attack dissolves into nothing. Before he can recover, Lenok closes the distance and seizes his wrist. He then redirects the man's own power, engulfing him in a vortex of his own flame. Leo shrieks as the fire, now hostile, consumes his own flesh. The other mercenaries can only watch, frozen by the brutal display. The flames climb higher and the man's screams echo through the alley. Lenok coldly explains his fatal mistake. Not all pyrokinetics are immune to fire. Broken, the man's defiance crumbles into pleas for his life. With a flick of his wrist, Lenok lets him go. He feigns disappointment, remarking that his grip must be slipping. The mercenaries break into chaos, scrambling to put out the fire on their comrade. They scream for water, desperate to stop the flames from engulfing the entire facility. Lenok turns to his client and orders him to leave. The mission won't succeed with him here. As the car speeds away, Lenok watches the liability vanish. With the civilians gone, he enters the warehouse, his true objective in sight. He has a day and a half to hold this location and deliver the sample. He scans the shelves, searching for the package. There it is, a small, secure case. Inside are the tranquilizer vials. This is what Amnak wants. He pockets the case, his resolve hardening. The gang is coming, and he will eliminate them all. Outside, the remaining mercenaries are lost, their client gone. Lenok emerges, and their former leader flinches at his approach. He learns they were never briefed on the full plan. Taking command, he asks for a head count, 15 men. He issues his orders, split into teams, patrol the area, block the entrance. As for him, he has other preparations to make. The rundown alley explains why the gang hasn't found the warehouse yet. The tall surrounding wall is a decent obstacle, but it's full of cracks and weak points. To solve this, he begins casting a claymore spell, a magical landmine. He carefully places the orb of energy on the ground. He then weaves complex runes around it, modifying its very nature. It's a basic trap spell, designed to explode when an enemy gets too close. But its small blast radius is useless against a large group, so he will simply change the rules. He rewrites the trigger. It will now detonate if any pressure is applied to the wall. In exchange for raw damage, he expands the spell's effective range tenfold. The trap is now charged and ready. He places another modified trap against a different section of the wall. Every potential entry point has now become a death trap. His work done, he's approached by Leo, the humbled pyromancer. The man immediately drops to his knees. Scorched and broken, he apologizes, promising to never challenge him again. Lenik calmly tells him there's no need to apologize. Leo begs to know what he can do, his fear fixed on what happens after the job is over. Lenik notes how he came alone, unwilling to be seen groveling by his men. An opportunity presents itself, and he offers the terrified man a chance to make it up. Terrified and cornered, Leo can only ask what Lenik demands of him. Lenik explains that they will soon have guests, and that Leo's role is simple. He gives the pyrokinetic a single, chilling order: burn the shoulders of their attackers. Under the weight of his new master's command, Leo has no choice but to obey. As he waits for the enemy, Lennox sits alone in the warehouse, calmly preparing for war. He has only a limited supply of combat drugs. If the enemy splits up, he could be overwhelmed. He'll keep his gun as a last resort, just in case his magic isn't enough. Then, a sudden rattle at the doors. They're here. To get a lay of the land, he casts a wide-range detection spell. A pulse of pure mana expands from his position, mapping the entire compound. His scan picks up dozens of targets, but 2 give off an intense heat signature powerful mana users. The final count is staggering. An army of 150 hostiles is converging on the warehouse. With all the intel he needs, he moves to face the coming storm. A mercenary runs to warn him of the approaching army, but Lenik cuts him off with 2 simple words: "I know." Their approach is too fast. He deduces that most of them must be ordinary men, not mages. Just as he predicted, a convoy of armored cars floods the street. The hired guns scramble into position as the enemy convoy screeches to a halt outside. The mercenaries are frozen by the sight of the overwhelming force. Lenok steps forward, taking command. He tells them to guard the entrance while he handles the rest. He spots Leo at the front line, a clear sign the boy understands the consequences of disobedience. But the enemy isn't moving, they're just waiting. A sudden thought clicks into place, revealing their true strategy. Just as he figures it out, an explosion rips through the side of the compound, a pincer attack. The mercenaries cry out as they realize the enemy is breaching the walls from behind. An armored truck smashes through the compound's supposedly secure perimeter. From all sides, the walls begin to crumble under the coordinated assault. Lenik watches the chaos unfold, their brute force tactic exactly what he was hoping for. A sly grin spreads across his face as they drive right into his trap. One of his strategically placed magical claymores is triggered, and the battlefield ignites. A massive fireball engulfs the lead truck in an instant. The vehicle is torn apart, hurling shrapnel and bodies across the yard. But the explosion was far stronger than he'd calculated. Something is different. His eyes catch a strange, burning green liquid pooling from the wreckage. They're using a highly volatile fuel, one that amplified his magic to devastating effect. A chain reaction of explosions tears through the convoy as they trigger the rest of his hidden mines. The gang is thrown into total disarray, caught completely off guard by the fiery ambush. He watches the destruction, knowing they are paying the price for their reckless assault. As the smoke clears, 2 imposing figures emerge from the flames, the heat signatures he detected. One of them, a mage wielding an ornate staff, steps forward as if untouched by the carnage. Lenok's instincts scream that this mage is on a completely different level from anyone he's faced before. This is a boss-level opponent, and his gamer's mind immediately starts analyzing every possibility. He holds back the urge to strike first, choosing instead to gather more information. Channeling his own unique mana, he prepares a different kind of spell. He unleashes another pulse, not to attack, but to run a far more detailed scan. The results are in: 10 enemy vehicles have been destroyed. But even after the explosions, nearly 100 hostiles remain on the field. With a clear picture of the battlefield, he prepares a non-lethal, wide-area spell. Projecting his voice with mana, he taunts the enemy leaders for their hesitation. He openly invites them inside, daring them to face him. The scarred second-in-command gives the order, and the gang prepares to move. Accepting the challenge, the remaining forces begin to advance into the compound. Led by their 2 powerful commanders, the gang walks confidently toward the main entrance. As the enemy streams into his trap, Lenik turns to his men. He gives them a strange, impossible order: once the gang is inside, close your eyes and open fire. Though bewildered, the mercenary captain agrees, too intimidated to question the command. Trusting the mage who has so far kept them alive, the mercenaries close their eyes and take aim. The unsuspecting gang members continue their advance, walking deeper into the kill zone. With every enemy in position, he unleashes his spell, a blinding flash that engulfs them all. Blinded by the flashbang, the attackers are thrown into chaos. The hired mercenaries open fire, their eyes closed against the glare. The ambush is a slaughter, with bodies falling in the indiscriminate gunfire. Survivors clutch their eyes, their vision completely gone. A figure wreathed in flames, the pyrokinetic Leo, charges in to finish the job. He unleashes a torrent of fire, incinerating the blinded gang members. A savage grin spreads across his face. His flames surge forward like a tidal wave, engulfing all who remain. The battlefield is left a fiery graveyard. Watching from a distance, Linak knows using another spell will expose him as a mage. But the risk is one he's willing to take. With cold resolve, he gathers electrical energy in his hand. He unleashes chain lightning, sending arcs of pure power through the enemy ranks. The electricity leaps from one man to the next, leaving a trail of destruction. The hired guns methodically pick off the last of the stragglers. Lennox stands untouched amidst the firefight, utterly unimpressed. His focus has already shifted to the two figures who just entered the compound. The leaders of the attack, a scarred brawler and a purple-haired mage, finally show themselves. They survey the carnage, their eyes locked on the lone man in the courtyard. The mage, Grime, confronts his partner Guile. This opponent wasn't in their intel. Grime argues that their client shouldn't have the money to hire a mage this powerful. They had scouted their target thoroughly, so this newcomer is a complete unknown. Guile notes Lennox's unnerving calm in the face of their arrival. He mockingly asks if Lennox has lost his mind, standing against them alone. Lennox coolly turns the question back on them. Why aren't they concerned about their men being slaughtered? Guile just laughs, dismissing his own subordinates as disposable trash. Grime cuts him off, telling him to take this seriously. But Guile scoffs, claiming their opponent looks weak and won't last long. Lennox already understands their partnership, a leader who cares nothing for his gang, and a mage only in it for the coin. He smirks. In the end, everyone is driven by the same simple desires. Guile's patience wears thin. The mage Grime agrees, gathering dark energy around his staff. The staff glows, humming with immense power. Hexagonal plates of pure mana form in the air, constructing a complex barrier. Through his third eye, Lennox sees the spell's intricate structure with perfect clarity. He instantly recognizes the signature of barrier magic. Grime is trying to trap him, cutting off any hope of escape. He will not let that happen. Lennox reaches inside his coat. Grime cries out the spell's name, Chamber. A single bullet streaks through the air and strikes the half-formed barrier. The powerful spell shatters, undone by a simple gun. Guile laughs, mocking his partner for letting his guard down against such an unassuming foe. Grime screams in fury, calling Lennox a wannabe for daring to use a weapon against magic. Unfazed, Lennox holds his specialized gun, asking if mana user is meant as an insult. The mage turns his rage on his partner, yelling that Guile was supposed to be defending him. Guile finds it hilarious that a mage is terrified of a gun before his opponent has even used his own magic. He dismisses Lennox's abilities, claiming his flashy magic is too obvious to be a threat. Lennox sees their logic. They believe they can easily counter his light and lightning spells. But that logic only works on an ordinary mage. Guile bares his teeth, threatening to rip him apart if he tries anything. Lennox recalls his broker Jenny's warning. The gang's leader was a rare and powerful unique mixed blood. The palpable bloodlust coming from Guile confirms everything. Now, the real fight can begin. With a look of pure contempt, he calls the leader a piece of shit mutt. Guile freezes, the insult striking a nerve no one has ever dared to touch. Lennox doubles down, mocking the stink of his fur. The arrogance in Guile's eyes vanishes, replaced by a twitching, murderous fury. A slow, sinister grin spreads across his face as the last of his restraint shatters. With a sickening crack, his body begins to contort and transform. The man is gone, and a monster vows to rip his mouth to pieces first. Provoked, Guile sheds his human form, unleashing the monster within. But Lennox remains perfectly still, identifying the beast before him. This creature's power, however, is far beyond that of a normal werewolf. Lennox's analysis reveals a critical flaw. The transformation is unstable, the beast barely in control. Its own claws curve back, piercing its flesh, a sign of uncontrolled growth. He spots another weakness, patches of bare skin betraying its impure, mixed bloodline. Lennox mocks the beast's stutter, a clear sign its mind is already failing. He goads the monster, knowing its rage is its greatest liability. The werewolf lunges, a blur of fury and speed. Lennox stands his ground, a trap already set. The beast's charge smashes into a shimmering magical barrier, its jaws stopped inches from their target. Frustration twists its features as raw power fails against calculated defense. Guile leaps back, gathering himself for another furious assault. But his opponent reads his every move, noting the repetitive, thoughtless attacks. With a final, desperate slam, the first barrier shatters. Guile roars, but the effort has cost him. From the sidelines, Grime can only watch in disbelief at Lennox's defense. His partner's triumph is short-lived as a second, third, and fourth barrier spring into existence, trapping the beast. Lennox smirks. He had precast 5 shields, each strong enough to stop heavy artillery. With the werewolf immobilized, he draws his pistol. He declares, "My turn," as he channels 3 reinforcement spells into his weapon. A single, supercharged bullet sends the massive creature flying. Lennox advances on his downed foe, his expression cold. The werewolf lies broken, a gaping wound in its chest. He scoffs at the whimpering beast, panicking after a single counterattack. Electricity crackles in his hand as he prepares a follow-up. A torrent of lightning engulfs the helpless werewolf. Guile's body convulses, coughing blood as the bolts course through him, but the immense power takes its toll. A faint cough escapes Lennox's own lips. Deciding to end it, he raises a hand, gathering an immense amount of magical energy. The very air distorts as he prepares a high-level spell from his past life. He unleashes Thunder Calling, and a colossal pillar of lightning descends from the heavens. When the light fades, all that remains of Guile is a smoldering crater. Grime stands frozen, his partner utterly annihilated before his eyes. A hard swallow is all he can manage against the wave of terror. Lennox notes Grime's hesitation, the perfect opening to cast an ultimate spell. With a predatory smile, he challenges the last man standing. Grime regains his nerve, charging his staff with brilliant light, but Lennox's eyes narrow. He knows this spell. It's not a simple beam, but a powerful shockwave. He deduces Grime's intent, a massive area of effect spell to destroy everyone, including himself. Lennox answers with his own overwhelming surge of blue mana. Grime watches as his opponent's power floods towards his own. The horrifying truth dawns on him. Lennox isn't blocking the spell, he's stealing it. In a stunning display of control, Lennox seizes Grime's mana flow. The hijack spell erupts harmlessly upwards, tearing a new skylight in the reinforced ceiling. Grime fights to hold his staff as his own magic rebels against him. He stares into the gaping hole, his mind refusing to process what just happened. He turns to Lennox, searching for an explanation that isn't there. The mage's composure shatters into a fit of disbelieving laughter. He shrieks that it must be an artifact. There is no other way. His denial hardens into conviction, refusing to be deceived by an opponent's trickery. Lennox calmly analyzes the man's unraveling mind. Despite the bravado, the rival mage cannot hide his true state. The tells are obvious, shaking pupils and a film of cold sweat. He is simply rationalizing, because the truth of Lennox's power is too terrifying to accept. The image of the crater where his partner once stood flashes in his mind. He sees his own ultimate spell, turned against him and fired at the sky. The conclusion is simple, a man paralyzed by the war between his ego and his fear. Grime points, his voice trembling, desperate for validation. "I'm right, aren't I?" Lennox lets out a sigh, disappointed in an enemy who can't even trust his own senses. Grime even tries to bargain for the non-existent artifact, but Lennox has heard enough. He summons a new power from the floor, and the shadows themselves answer his call. Grime expects a lightning bolt, but is met with an eruption of pure shadow. Tendrils of darkness slither across the warehouse floor, homing in on their target. The shadows rise, forming a cage with no escape. From all sides, the shadow raid closes in. He finds his feet anchored by unyielding darkness. His hands are bound, and he screams his confusion. This wasn't supposed to be shadow magic. The spell twists into a horrifying visage, tightening its grip. His staff clatters to the floor, his body now at the mercy of the spell. The tendrils tear into his hand, a spray of blood marking his defeat. His final scream is swallowed by the crushing force of the shadow raid. Lennox calmly approaches the broken mage. Grime can only stammer, demanding to know how. But Lennox already knows what he's thinking. The moment his enemies walked into this warehouse, their fate was sealed. His spell, Shadow Raid, is a stealthy skill that requires a long casting time. But in the darkness of this building, the spell's greatest weakness became its strength. With his target incapacitated, Lennox raises his gun for the interrogation. His eyes are cold, calculating. Tears stream down the defeated mage's face. He is utterly outclassed. He begs for his life as the cold barrel presses against his head. Lennox silences his pleas, covering the man's eyes. He offers a sliver of hope, demanding to know if there are any more forces or outside connections. The terrified mage insists this is all of them, no one else is coming. In a desperate bargain, Grime reveals his status, a level 3 magic user. Lennox has never heard the term. At that level, Grime explains, he is considered a proper mage. But to Lennox, such labels are meaningless. True strength isn't measured in levels. Grime risks a hopeful smile, believing he might be spared. His hope dies in a final, terrified scream. Pragmatism overrides all else. No loose ends can be left behind. With a simple, cold, sorry, he pulls the trigger. The deed is done. Suddenly, a sound from behind him. Guile's werewolf form stirs. The monster's body twitches, still clinging to some semblance of life. His thunder calling is his strongest spell. No mere gangster should have survived it. Then, a flicker of understanding. He looks at the twitching corpse, the cause now clear. A werewolf is a beast of the night sky, its power drawn from the moon. It isn't life, but raw instinct animating the corpse. Fueled by that instinct, the body lurches toward him one last time. He considers the impressive regeneration of a mere mixed blood, and wonders at the strength of a pure blood, and casually sidesteps the clumsy, reanimated attack. He grabs the beast's head, deciding to end this farce. He channels lightning into his hand, and casts a simple, bolt spell. A final surge of electricity puts the monster down for good. 2 leaders, dispatched in just 5 minutes, but the firefight outside rages on. He could leave, but abandoning the mercenaries fighting on his behalf feels wrong. His foot nudges the staff Grime had dropped. Curiosity takes over, and he picks it up. He inspects the fallen mage's weapon, certain it holds some kind of power. He's never used magical accessories before. After buying his performance enhancers, he simply couldn't afford them. He holds the staff, wondering if it will make a difference. Outside, the mercenaries hold the line against the last of the gang. The pyrokinetic Leo proves his worth, unleashing a torrent of fire. A satisfied smile crosses Lennox's face. It's time to end this. With the enemy mage's staff, Lennox unleashes one final, devastating spell. Arcs of lightning tear through the gang's remaining forces. The raw power surges across the battlefield, a brilliant, terrifying storm. Their screams are drowned out by the thunder, and then there is silence. A survivor recognizes the staff in Lennox's hand, and the truth hits him. Their leaders are dead. He screams for everyone to run for their lives. The once confident gang breaks and scatters into the night. The mercenary leader watches them go, the battle finally over. He shouts his thanks, and Lennox coolly observes they held the line well. Nearby, the young pyrokinetic, Leo, lies completely spent on the ground. Lennox finds the boy's desperate will to survive. Interesting. The boy fought at the very front, risking everything with his limited power. By surviving such a battle, he has earned the right to bathe in the joy of victory. Leo looks up, unsure what his earlier defiance will cost him. But Lennox offers only 2 words, well done. With the men settled, he turns his attention back to the staff. He analyzes its properties, searching for any hidden power. It offers no boost to speed, no amplification of force, nothing. It's trash, and he discards it without a second thought. The mercenaries erupt in cheers, celebrating their impossible victory. Lennox quickly takes command, organizing the aftermath with cold efficiency. Later, as dawn breaks over the silent battlefield, he finally allows himself to rest. Only now does the adrenaline fade, leaving his hands trembling from the strain. He instinctively reaches for a viper, a chemical fix for his body's weakness. But he pulls his hand back. The last of his supply is for emergencies only. He will simply have to endure the exhaustion. The mercenaries depart in high spirits, their payday secured by Mr. Mage. Now alone, Lennox knows his own mission isn't over yet. He still has to deliver the tranquilizer sample to the patent office. But first, after a quick call to his client, he claims a small bonus for his troubles. He stocks up on anything that can help manage his frail body's chronic pain. As he turns to leave, his eyes fall upon the staff he'd discarded. Even trash might have some value to the right person. A new thought strikes him. Perhaps he could sell it. Hoping to trade it for a few vipers, he slings it over his shoulder. With his business concluded, he hails a taxi for the final leg of his journey. In the car, one of his chronic headaches flares, a sharp reminder of his body's limits. The trip takes him deeper into the city than he has ever been before. He arrives before an imposing building, the District 8 Patent Office. The pristine architecture tells him everything he needs to know about this place. This is Balkan's center of power, a district reserved for the political elite. He approaches the grand entrance, ready to finally finish his mission. But before he can enter, a voice calls out to him. An older man, projecting an aura of quiet authority, sits on a nearby bench. The man remarks how impressive it is for someone so young to be developing new technology. But Lennox is immediately on guard. No ordinary old man just happens to be here. The man's gaze is far too sharp, too analytical for idle small talk. He must end this conversation quickly, without leaving an impression. Then he follows the man's line of sight. The old man isn't looking at him, he's looking at the staff. And suddenly, everything clicks into place. Lennox drops all pretense. Did you enjoy the show last night? The man plays dumb, asking what show he could possibly mean. Lennox smirks, mentioning the fireworks he set off for a distant audience. He levels his gaze. I have to ask, did you come here to see me, District Representative? The game has changed, and a far more dangerous player has just entered the board. As a message, Lenik returns the staff belonging to the man he just killed. With a single thrust, he plants it in the pavement before the man's boss. He then offers a chilling, insincere apology for the loss. But the district representative is completely unfazed. Lenik knew who he was, but never expected him to come in person. The politician speaks his fallen subordinate's name. He laments the loss, not of a skilled mage, but of a loyal political asset. Lenik ventures a guess, but already knows the man's purpose isn't revenge. His eyes are cold, devoid of any anger or grief. Instead, they burn with raw, unconcealed ambition. This isn't a threat, it's a job offer. The representative watched from his window as Lenik summoned lightning from a clear sky. He promises to help him climb the ladder of success. Lenik reads the man like an open book. He sees someone who wants power, fame, and a powerful pawn to secure it all. But Lenik has no intention of being anyone's pawn. His response to the grand offer is a single dismissive question. You may want me, but I have no use for you. If he ever needed a sponsor, he would aim far higher than a mere district representative. So he turns the rejection into an opportunity, suggesting a future debt to be repaid. They are not allies, but now they are not enemies either. Later, at the underworld bar, he recounts the bizarre encounter. Jenny can't believe the politician's audacity. She has to admit, though, his handling of the situation was strangely professional. After all, she notes, connections to powerful people can be quite useful. Their conversation is cut short by a notification. His payment from Amnak has arrived. But as he gets up to leave, Jenny stops him cold. She has one more piece of crucial advice. His silence is all the answer she needs. She warns him that an unemployed man with a suddenly full bank account is a magnet for tax investigators. He takes her warning to heart. He needs a legitimate job. Once outside, the adrenaline fades, and the full weight of his exhaustion crashes down. He hails a cab. Before he can rest, he needs to resupply. His destination is a massive biodome, Plumber's Botanical Garden. Inside a hidden shop, a manic dealer greets his new customer. The manic energy vanishes, replaced by a salesman's oily charm. Lenik cuts straight through the act. The dealer's true face emerges, admitting he never thought a fool who didn't know what he was smoking would survive this long. The drug he depends on is more dangerous than he ever knew. But the dealer just laughs. A paying customer is still a customer. Lenik drops a mountain of cash and orders 100 vials. The dealer's eyes widen at the sight of his newfound wealth. He tries to upsell some bizarre ingredients, but Lenik isn't interested. With his supply secured, he leaves the dealer to his strange wares. But he barely makes it to his building's stairwell before his body gives out. He collapses against the wall, his strength completely gone. The world begins to swim as the withdrawal takes hold. The pain is a violent, dizzying spiral. With a practiced, desperate motion, he reaches for a vial of Viper. The effect is instant, a wave of chemical peace that pushes back the pain. He knows he shouldn't rely on it, but without it, he can't even function. He's been holding on by a thread, and that thread is about to snap. For the first time since his return, Lenik grants himself a full week of quiet recovery. His body, pushed to its absolute limit, finally has time to heal. For a man who lived on the run, a simple, self-cooked meal is a forgotten luxury. But a long list of debilitating traits is a constant reminder of his body's extreme fragility. Soon, a new, mundane challenge arises, finding a part-time job. But even the simplest work is impossible for a body that could break at any moment. Just as he scrolls through listings, a notification interrupts his fruitless search. It's his broker Jenny, always ready with another high-stakes mission. She checks in, asking when he'll be ready to dive back into the fray. Before taking another job, he heads to the massive Balkan City library to prepare. He arrives with a singular goal in mind. His last battle revealed a critical weakness in his solo combat style. The memory of the werewolf and mage duo is a harsh lesson in teamwork. Their strategy was simple, yet brutally effective, a tank to absorb damage while a mage provided support. He gathers books on summoning and creation magic, determined to replicate that power for himself. He weighs his options, become overwhelmingly powerful alone, or create allies to fight alongside him. His goal is clear, learn a form of summoning to create his own support units. He begins his research with the most direct option, summoning magic. He discovers that summoning in this world is just as convoluted as it was in the game. The entire process is a high-stakes gamble, closer to a gacha game than a reliable skill. With a single failure costing a fortune, he dismisses summoning as far too inefficient. He moves on to the next possibility, spirit arts. But the discipline doesn't even use mana, making it completely incompatible with his abilities. Every path he explores leads to a dead end. Even a momentary distraction would be a weapon, but his search yields nothing. Just then, his concentration is broken by an unexpected visitor. A woman approaches, scolding him for rotting in the library. He recognizes her instantly, Professor Iris Richelin from the university. She chides him for not seeking her help, assuming he's a student in over his head. Her eyes fall upon his books, and she jumps to the wrong conclusion. She sighs, believing he's desperately chasing fringe, luck-based magic. Believing him talentless, she tells him that chasing such magic is a fool's errand. Mistaking his silence for resignation, she mocks that he'd have better luck with a lottery ticket. She hammers the point home, calling his ambition a useless hope. He knows her advice would be sound for any normal person, but he is far from normal. She decides to take matters into her own hands. She sits down, preparing for an impromptu lecture. Her audacity leaves him speechless. She's confident that he'll give up once he understands the true nature of magic. She begins her lesson, explaining that real magic stems from one's own ideology and mana. He observes her teaching style, noting her surprisingly calm and familiar tone. Despite her harsh words, he sees that she's a good person, genuinely trying to help. In this strange lecture, he finds a rare moment of human connection. Caught in his thoughts, Iris's voice snaps him back to reality. Her suspicious glare shows she doubts he was listening at all. He offers a strained smile, hoping to diffuse her irritation. Having finished her lecture, Iris finally asks for his name. He hesitates, wary of revealing his identity to one of the few who knows his real face. His evasive response earns a baffled stare from the professor. He deflects, claiming names are unnecessary when sharing knowledge. But Iris completely misinterprets his philosophical dodge. Her conclusion is so far from his meaning, he can only stammer in response. And just like that, without his consent, he had a new teacher. Professor Iris's forwardness leaves him speechless. She offers to personally tutor him in basic magic, completely misreading his true power. She doesn't even wait for an answer, steamrolling him with her own agenda. But for all her eccentricities, he can't deny that she is a kind person. He remembers her first attempt to help him, assuming he was just another struggling student. Now, he must navigate the lies she's built around him. Then again, her lectures might not be a total waste of time. An alliance with a university professor could be a powerful asset for his future. In this new world with no one to depend on, any connection is a risk worth taking. The burden of his isolation presses down. Every simple meeting requires a complex calculation. He glances at the performance enhancer in his hand, a reminder of his other, more dangerous life. Later, at the underworld bar, his broker Jenny delivers some news. His alias, Van, will be registered on the deep web. He takes a drink, hiding his interest behind a mask of indifference. It's a system for more efficient job-seeking, usually reserved for seasoned mercenaries. Her attention then turns to his companion, Dylan, offering him her special cocktail. Dylan, captivated by the colorful drink, asks for its name. Jenny's smile is deceptively sweet. The cocktail's name? Adios, motherfuckers. She unleashes her fury on Dylan for their last job, a mission that went disastrously wrong. Lanark, unfazed by the chaos, cuts straight to business. He asks about the security of having his identity on a network for mercenaries. The system is secure, she explains, and it allows him to filter quests by reward type. Dylan mocks her, suggesting she's just trying to monopolize her star mage. Jenny reveals the network's secret. It runs through a government backdoor, making its security nearly unbreakable. The city government itself backs the underground network. It all clicks into place. The government's silent approval is why this lawless street is allowed to exist. With the details settled, Jenny asks what kind of rewards he'll be hunting for. His answer stops her cold. He's looking for inherent magics. He's not after money, but the rarest powers in existence, time, space, and regeneration. Jenny's tone turns grim. Quests of that caliber are a death sentence, even for him. He cuts her off. The difficulty is not her concern. He clarifies that while he'll take other jobs, his priority is set. She logs his preference into the network, sealing his high-stakes request. She advises him to wait, as his new registration will massively increase his pay rate, a difference of at least 10 million sell. But even with the pay bump, he's still 20 million short of the money he needs for Stemonia. Dylan picks up on his mood. He needs money, and he needs it now. Gillen proposes a side hustle, a job that could earn him over 10 million a day. Desperate for the cash, Lanark has only one reply: tell me more. The job takes him to the 50th district, a government observation post on the edge of the wastelands. He joins the line of mercenaries signing up for the beast hunting mission. He's assigned an ID number, 484. The mission requires 4-person squads, a complication he'd rather do without. Dylan's instructions were clear. The job is in the undeveloped, contaminated zones. A mysterious contamination is killing the homeless, and the beasts feeding on their corpses have mutated into monsters. The government has put out a bounty, 1 million sel for every monster killed. The pay is good, but the risk is high. To earn the 20 million he needs, he'll have to hunt down at least 20 of them. As he waits for his team assignment, he finds he's already attracted unwanted attention. The moment he arrives for the mission, Lenik is cornered by his new team. Unimpressed by their posturing, he meets their hostility with ice. His cold demeanor catches them completely off guard. But as their leader approaches, Lenik's third eye is already measuring their strength. The leader, Miguel, introduces himself, attempting to smooth over the awkward greeting. The assignment board confirms it. He is officially stuck with them. Using his undercover alias, Van, he formally joins the squad. Miguel introduces the other members, the quiet, hooded Erickson, and the sharp-eyed woman, Claria. With introductions made, the newly formed team moves out. As they walk, Lenik notes the easy familiarity between the other three. His mana sense confirms his initial assessment. Their power is barely enough for basic reinforcement. They step out of the outpost into the desolate ruins of the outer districts. Their destination is the undeveloped district, a lawless zone of decay. Miguel explains this area was once part of an ambitious expansion project, but the project failed and the districts were left to rot. Erickson remarks that the lawlessness explains all the suspicious factories in the area. The memory of the illegal corpse pulverizer factory clicks into place. But for mercenaries, these ruins hold a silver lining, a quick way to earn a fortune hunting the contaminated. Erickson boasts that his shotgun will make short work of any beast they find. Claria turns her attention to Lenik, questioning his simple loadout. He plainly states that he's a lightning-type mage. Miguel can't believe it. He's a rare, pure elementalist. The revelation throws their entire plan into chaos. Their assumptions about their new teammate were completely wrong. Lenik presses them, already knowing the answer. Miguel claims that pure elementalists are liabilities unsuited for team operations. Lenik sees through the pathetic excuse. They were planning to cut him out from the start. So, Miguel makes it official. They want to split up. But before he can finish his spiel, Lenik cuts in. He asks one simple question: is a 4-person team required for the reward? When Miguel says no, the rest of the team is quick to agree. The matter is settled. Seeing no reason to force the issue, Lenik agrees to go his own way. Miguel offers some fake concern for the lone mage. Lenik doesn't give him a second glance. The team can't hide their relief as their unwanted partner departs. As he leaves, they mock his chances of surviving alone. Their partnership dissolved, Lenik heads deeper into the ruins. Besides, with his skills, they would have only held him back. But as Lenik disappears, Claria notices Miguel is still watching him go. She scoffs, calling their former teammate a parasite they were right to abandon. And yet, a seed of doubt has been planted in Miguel's mind. What if that mage wasn't a liability, but a powerful asset they just threw away? He shakes the thought away, dismissing his own concerns. Deeper in the ruins, Lenik dispatches his first target with a single blast of lightning. He inspects the smoldering corpse, a grotesque product of a failed experiment. He recalls the intel Dylan gave him about the origin of these creatures. They are the byproduct of a secret project called Black Consumers. Its goal was to use a virus to unlock explosive cell regeneration, a twisted attempt at immortality that only birthed monsters. If a human is infected, their cells replicate uncontrollably until their body explodes. But the true danger is the infectious black fog that leaks from their corpses, always seeking a new host. To claim his bounty, he must perform an unpleasant task. He has to harvest the creature's eyes as proof of the kill. But just as he moves to collect his prize, a sound cuts through the silence. He's not alone. Lightning crackles in his hand as he senses the approaching hunters. Drawn by the black fog, a new predator steps out of the shadows. It didn't come alone. His mana detection had already mapped their every move. The rabid creatures charge, but he remains perfectly still. He's more than prepared to greet them. Purple energy swirls around his outstretched hand. He unleashes a wide-area spell, Gravity Bind. Tendrils of dark energy erupt from the ground, ensnaring one of the beasts and crushing it under immense pressure. He electrocutes the second beast with brutal efficiency. Another wolf lunges, its jaws open for a killing blow. But a hexagonal magic barrier stops it dead. He draws his gun, casting recoil and shock reinforcement spells. A silent spell muffles the magically charged shot. The enhanced bullet obliterates the creature's shadowy form. The battle ends, and the adrenaline begins to fade. He harvests the eye, the proof of his kill. Another beast is dispatched with a jolt of electricity, and finished with a point-blank enchanted shot to the mouth. He conjures a small flame, to stir the eye from its socket. He wraps the eyes carefully, counting his fifth kill. At a million cell each, he's earned 5 million so far. But this grunt work is no long-term solution. Without his 2-kilometer detection magic, this hunt would be impossible. The contaminated beasts are stronger than he'd first assumed. Now he understands why the administration sends hunters in teams of 4. His former teammates, Miguel and Erickson, would have been overwhelmed. Did they know the danger when they abandoned him? The chilling possibility dawns. They left him here to die. A dark smirk plays on his lips as he considers their treachery. He incinerates the corpse and continues the hunt. He needs 15 more kills, 20 million cell to buy this demonia. His expression hardens. The mission is all that matters. Suddenly, his senses flare. Something new has entered his range. He unleashes a wide-range mana pulse to pinpoint the source. His spell reveals 3 more beasts, hiding inside a nearby building. He casts Lightning Tracker, shaping pure electrical energy. Several elemental foxes materialize, ready to hunt on his behalf. From behind cover, a hidden figure spots the magical foxes. The foxes attack, shattering the crates as the figure flees. But his senses flare again. He wasn't tracking a beast. He hadn't detected this presence at all. Their stealth is familiar, just like the sniper from that last mission. He decides to force his observer out into the open. A massive sound wave spell erupts, designed to disorient. The wave hits its target, a woman with long blue hair. But she grits her teeth, withstanding the full force of the blast. She pushes forward, refusing to be stopped. Lennox gives a slight nod. This opponent is skilled. He'll have to use a much stronger spell. Mana condenses around him, forming razor-sharp shards of ice. He prepares Icicle Burn, a high-level elemental combination. The deadly magic materializes in an instant. The blue-haired woman looks up as a massive, glowing icicle hurtles toward her. She has no defense, no escape. An icicle meant to kill screams past the assassin's ear. She's still standing, but the hunter who cornered her is just getting started. His frost shackles erupt from the ground, freezing her feet solid. She pulls against the unyielding ice, completely trapped. From above, Lennox assesses his prey. The ice won't hold her for long. Before she can break free, shadowy tendrils bind her limbs, dragging her to her knees. Bound and defeated, she snarls at the man who overpowered her so easily. Lennox approaches, a mocking smirk on his lips. With a casual flick of his fingers, a tendril of darkness lashes out. Her rifle is torn from her grasp and shatters against the ground. Disarmed and utterly powerless, she pleads for her life. He offers no mercy, only a cold question. Why was she spying on him? She scrambles for an excuse, claiming she was only trying to stay out of his fight. Her flimsy alibi crumbles under his silent gaze. The biting cold seeps into her bones, and she begs him to at least release her from the ice. He pauses, letting the silence hang in the air. Then, he raises his gun. As a final gamble, she screams a single name, Dylan. The name stops him cold. She's a professional mercenary, she explains, and she works with Dylan. He presses his advantage, demanding to know how she made the connection. Her own words have trapped her, and she has no answer. He puts the pieces together. She's from the mercenary group, Antares. But one mystery remains. How did she hide her presence from his mana detection? Her stealth, she claims, was bought with the power of monies. This isn't the answer he expected. She gestures to a small charm on her waist, her secret weapon. It's an assimilation charm, a rare and expensive piece of druidic magic. Before she can say more, he moves in a flash. He snatches the charm right off her hip, leaving her gaping in protest. He inspects the charm, recalling what he knows of druidic arts. Druidic power flows from faith in nature, leaving no energy signature for a mage to track. He notices the symbol on the charm is already growing faint. It only works when stationary and has limited uses, too crude for a proper ambush. She laughs nervously, begging him to return the charm. He offers no guarantees. He taunts her, saying he'll just give the lost item to Dylan. She erupts, yelling that Dylan can't even keep track of his own wallet. The argument is lost. She slumps in defeat. Just then, the last of the ice shatters around her feet. But her first complaint isn't the cold or the capture, it's the water in her boots. Unimpressed, Lennox makes a call to his information broker, Jenny. He asks about a blue-haired Antares merc, and Jenny's colorful reply confirms everything. With her story verified, the shadowy tendrils holding her captive finally dissipate. He asks for her name, and she introduces herself as Camilla, though she prefers Milla. She bristles at his questioning of the nickname, snapping that it's her business. Milla recognizes him by his alias, Van. His reputation clearly precedes him. She confirms they're both here for the same reason, to hunt the contaminated. Milla needs the bounty, since her mercenary group is temporarily blocked from taking high-paying jobs. With the interrogation over, she turns the tables and makes her own proposition. She has a plan to wipe out every last target if he's willing to make a deal. Camilla makes her pitch, a 50-50 split of the bounty. But Lennox has his own terms, 70% for him, 30% for her. She protests, she can't live on 30%. He counters that he'll be the one doing all the killing. She tries a new tactic, pleading for a simple 50-50 split on principle. But he reminds her that she's the one who broke ethics by spying on him in the first place. Cornered, she makes her final offer, a 60-40 split. It's the best she can do. He agrees, and Camilla seals the deal before he can change his mind. With their partnership official, she tells him to follow, but he has one question: are they walking? She flashes a grin, she already picked up a ride for them. Their transportation is a rusty old forklift that groans to life. The unlikely pair sets off across the wasteland in their makeshift vehicle. Camilla proudly explains she hotwired the abandoned machine, saving them a long walk. But the ride is too slow for Lennox's taste. He unleashes a lightning tracker, a familiar made of pure energy, to scout ahead. The creature streaks across the desert, a blur of blue electricity. It immediately finds a target, a contaminated beast unaware of its doom. The fox detonates, engulfing the monster in an explosion of raw power. The blast leaves Camilla speechless as he calmly tells her to stop. He approaches the smoldering remains of the beast he dispatched without breaking a sweat. From the corpse, he plucks the core, their first bounty of the day. Back on the forklift, he asks his new partner for their next move. He already knows the answer. The contaminated will be drawn to the vagrant settlements nearby. But there's a flaw in that plan. Every other mercenary will have the same idea. He tells her they're not heading toward a bounty, they're heading toward their competition. His patience wearing thin, he demands she drop him off to hunt alone. Camilla refuses to let him go. She has one more card to play. Her boss, the infamous mercenary Antares, has a special interest in these vagrants. The name Antares stops him cold. Camilla's guild was the one who relocated them. She alone knows their new, secret settlement. Her information gives them an exclusive hunting ground, making their partnership priceless. If she's telling the truth, the entire area and all its bounties will be theirs alone. With the deal back on, they press on toward their destination. They arrive at a massive, abandoned industrial complex, the vagrants' new home. Just the thought of going inside to deal with the vagrants makes her skin crawl. They'll wait here, the contaminated will eventually come to them. Suddenly, her confidence shatters as she spots a group on the horizon. Lennox doesn't need to squint. He counts 18 mercenaries. He isn't here to share. He steps off the forklift to face them. Camilla follows, her secret information now worthless. He explains that any competent mana user could have tracked the vagrants' trail. She wants to tell them to leave. They were here first, but it's never that simple. She sees him recognize one of them, and for a moment hopes for a peaceful resolution. But a cold sweat betrays his unease. This is not a friendly reunion. A small army of mercenaries emerges from the dust, and leading them is Miguel, the man who left him for dead. Miguel and his second-in-command, Erickson, lock eyes with their old acquaintance. Van C., Miguel says, his voice dripping with false courtesy. We meet again. His eyes drift to Camilla, sizing up Lennox's new partner. Miguel smirks, remarking how dangerous it is to be out here alone. Lennox cuts through the pretense. What do you want? Miguel's smile vanishes. He claims his team had their eye on this spot first. He politely suggests they find somewhere else to hunt. Behind him, his entire team stands ready for a fight. But Camilla isn't backing down. Her mana flares as she prepares for battle. The time for talking is over. Miguel's eyes glow red, promising a bloodbath. The standoff escalates as a wild-eyed Camilla confronts the rival mercenary, Miguel. She challenges his right to claim this unowned land. Miguel smirks, citing the mercenary code, first come, first served. Her fury erupts, but Lennox calmly calls her name, holding her back. She ignores him, raising her rifle, refusing to be pushed aside. Miguel coolly warns her that his group of nearly 20 mercenaries won't hesitate to use force. But Lennox is unimpressed by a man who only trusts in numbers. His eyes glow with mana as he scans the enemy forces. He identifies the two primary targets he would need to neutralize first. Yet, his senses detect one man with no mana signature at all, a complete anomaly. Just then, the anomaly steps forward to intervene. With a disarming smile, he introduces himself as Mauren. He feigns surprise at finding a mercenary from Antares so far out. Then he reveals his own allegiance. The rival mercenary office, Platon. Camilla stiffens. Platon is a major player, a direct competitor to her own organization. Mauren continues his fake diplomacy, acknowledging that Antares claimed the area first. He then asks if his group can simply rest there, a thinly veiled threat to take the territory by force. Lennox sees the truth. Any aggression from their side will trigger an all-out battle. So he turns the tables, declaring their deal is off and he's leaving. A desperate Camilla stops him, pleading for him to stay. She reminds him of the expensive druid charm he took from her. She offers it to him outright, a charm worth 10 million sell. For a moment, she believes her desperate gamble might have worked. But it isn't her offer that gives him pause. His glowing eyes have detected an approaching army. In the distance, a massive cloud of dust signals their advance. The rumbling ground alerts the rival mercenaries. Miguel's face drains of color as he recognizes the stampede. A massive swarm of red-eyed, contaminated beasts barrels toward them. Camilla sees her chance, urging Lennox to fight the beasts and their rivals at once. But Lennox's glowing eyes narrow. Something is wrong. A coordinated swarm this large isn't a coincidence. It's an intentional attack. His gaze shifts to Maureen and Miguel, suspicion hardening into certainty. A sinister smirk from Maureen confirms everything. He lured the beasts here himself. With a new plan in motion, Lennox gives Camilla a surprising command: run to the front line. She understands instantly, a grin spreading across her face. Without hesitation, she sprints toward the monster horde. She dashes past Miguel's crew, leaving them stunned by her reckless charge. Unwilling to lose the bounty, Miguel orders his men to chase her down. But Lennox raises a hand, crackling with dark energy, and declares he can't let them interfere. He unleashes a single, amplified word: sinkhole. The very ground beneath the rival mercenaries shatters and gives way. They scream in terror as the earth swallows them whole. Lennox stands at the edge of the chasm, knowing a simple pit won't hold them for long. Just as he predicted, Morin's body erupts in green mana as he prepares to escape. Lennox watches, his suspicions confirmed. Morin was a powerful mage hiding in plain sight. A confident smirk spreads across his face. This is the challenge he was waiting for. But the moment Morin tries to act, an invisible force slams into him. He cries out as his own mana surges violently, turning against him. This is Lennox's true power, a spell that shatters an opponent's control over their own mana. His hand, now cloaked in crimson energy, clenches into a fist. Morin collapses, his power extinguished in an instant. His body trembles. An outside force has seized complete control of his internal energy. His eyes widen in disbelief from the bottom of the pit. Every other mercenary finds themselves paralyzed, their mana completely unresponsive. Trapped and powerless, Miguel desperately calls out to Mage Van for help. Morin looks back at him with pity, asking if he still doesn't understand their situation. A terrified Miguel stammers, failing to grasp the trap they've walked into. Then, the horrifying truth finally dawns in his eyes. He wasn't dealing with a simple mercenary, he was facing a monster. Tired of playing weak, Lennox unleashes a torrent of lightning. The rival mercenary leader Miguel can only stare as the mage he abandoned reveals his true power. With a flick of his wrist, he summons a pack of his signature lightning trackers. The spectral foxes surge through the battlefield, a wave of electric blue death. Both Miguel and Morin are frozen, utterly outclassed by this display of magical prowess. But while the others are stunned, Camilla leaps into the fray, already accustomed to his combat style. The lightning trackers prove brutally effective, pinning down the shadowy beasts. Following his magical setup, Camilla lands a devastating headshot, their teamwork seamless. She celebrates their perfect combo, lost in the thrill of the hunt. But Lennox sees her mistake. Her headshots are destroying the beast's eyes, ruining the bounty. With their profits on the line, she grits her teeth and resolves to aim for the body. Just then, the rival captain Maureen leaps from the abyss. Lennox watches him land, his calm a stark contrast to the surrounding chaos. Maureen assesses the mage before him, a flicker of awe crossing his face. He makes a swift calculation and turns away from Lennox to fight the beasts instead. Moments later, Miguel's exhausted crew finally claws their way out of the pit. The hot-headed Erickson immediately confronts the man he knows only as Van. Lennox coldly shuts him down, stating his only responsibility is to his partner. He makes it painfully clear they are not teammates, and Erickson has no right to his help. Furious, the mercenary throws a foolish punch. Lennox doesn't even flinch, his automatic defense is more than enough to handle the attack. He recalls the pathetic shock magic used by a past foe, and decides to demonstrate what a true master can do. With a casual gesture, he unleashes a counterspell. A basic spell, amplified by his immense power, becomes an unstoppable force. The shockwave sends the hapless mercenary flying backwards. He collapses to the ground, utterly defeated by the simple, yet overwhelming power. To end the discussion, he lets the lightning speak for him. The remaining mercenaries watch in terror as their comrade convulses on the ground. With the grunt dealt with, Lennox turns his attention to their leader. Miguel can only stand in silence, facing the terrifying power of the man he left for dead. He desperately asks why he didn't reveal his skills earlier, claiming they would have treated him better. Lennox scoffs at the pathetic attempt to save face. He was not here to have his ego stroked, he was here to get paid. As he dismisses them, Karia, a member of Miguel's team, steps forward. Sensing where the true power lies, she tries to abandon her team and ally with Lennox. But Camilla, disgusted by the betrayal, steps in to confront the turncoat. Splattered in beast blood, she gives the woman a visceral lesson in loyalty. Under her intense gaze, Claria's selfish bravado crumbles. Her point made, Camilla's demeanor flips, and she pats the terrified mercenary on the shoulder. Having witnessed the entire exchange, Maurin gracefully concedes. He approaches the duo, admitting he can't be mad when their power is on another level. As a gesture of goodwill, he offers his personal business card for the Platon Mercenary Company. Lennox accepts, taking the card as a formal end to their conflict. He tucks the card away, a silent acknowledgement of the other hunter's respect. With a final nod, Maurin leads his battered crew away from the hunting grounds. Not to be outdone, Camilla announces she has a card for him as well. She proudly presents her own card, completely drenched in the black blood of their kills. Back at the payout station, Camilla tallies her score, annoyed she only killed 7 beasts to his 12. She curses her mistake of ruining one of the bounties. But in a rare show of camaraderie, Lennox tells her she did a good job. His praise brings a wide grin to her face as she firmly shakes his hand. She then invites him to her mercenary agency, Antares, noting that Dylan O'Casey's stories have made their boss curious. With their business concluded, she gives him a parting salute and walks away. Alone, Lennox checks his account, 19 million sell, just shy of his goal, but enough. Without hesitation, he accesses the deep web and purchases the one thing he's been fighting for, the Stimonia miracle drug. The order confirmation is a wave of pure relief. He had the money, he bought the cure, but for a man with a dying body, the real fight was just beginning. Back in his apartment, he raises a powerful barrier, sealing himself off from the world. He channels his immense mana, weaving a complex web of defenses throughout his home. With the perimeter secured, he prepares for the most dangerous step in his plan. His attention turns to the one item he gambled everything on, the Stimonia. It sits on his bed, a promise to finally be free from his body's crippling penalties. He sits before the box, steadying his breath for the ordeal ahead. This miracle drug could save him, or it could be the last thing he ever does. Knowing this is his only chance, he unwraps the package. A high-tech case appears, designed to protect a body as frail as his from a fatal overload. Inside, a single glowing pill, his last hope. With a steady hand, he retrieves the Stimonia. There is no turning back now. He takes the pill, committing his fate to the unknown. Instantly, the drug's immense power floods his system. He convulses, an unimaginable pain tearing through his body. His body is too weak. The medicine is killing him. To survive, he'll resort to a dangerous technique, one he swore he would avoid. He forces raw mana into his own system, reinforcing his body to withstand the purification. He grinds his teeth, fighting to stay conscious and in control. As a raging fever burns through him, he desperately chugs water to stay alive. Exhaustion pulls at him, but to fall unconscious now means death. After a hellish night, he lies still, his body having purged a black, tar-like substance. As the sun rises, he finally stirs, a survivor of his own cure. He sits up. The searing pain that has plagued him is finally gone. His gaze falls upon the foul toxins that have been poisoning him from within. He picks up the soiled sheets, a pungent, familiar odor filling the air. It's the unmistakable scent of the viper enhancers he'd been forced to abuse. The Stimonia didn't just work, it purged every last trace of the poison. He opens the window to a new morning. The gamble was worth every penny. Even after flooding his body with mana, he feels no soreness, an impossible sensation. The mana overdose penalty, the curse of his existence, has been lifted, if only for now. He closes the now empty case, having finally found a weapon against the curse. In the week that follows, he experiences a life he thought he'd lost. For the first time since coming to this world, he finds true restorative rest. But his new life comes at a cost, and now he must earn more money. He calls his broker, Jenny, but the number is unreachable. He steps outside to a city that is unnervingly empty. The streets are silent, and the entire city's network is down. Something is wrong in Balkan. His search for answers leads him to the underworld bar. The bartender greets him, his expression as unchanging as the empty bar stools. Lennox cuts straight to the point, asking for Jenny's whereabouts. The bartender explains she's been summoned by the authorities. Sensing the tension, he asks what's happening in the city. The bartender scoffs, wondering if he slept through the citywide panic of the last week. A diplomatic envoy from Philinum gave a surprise visit notification, throwing the entire city into chaos. but he knows a simple diplomatic visit wouldn't cause a shutdown this complete. The bartender confirms his suspicion. Someone completely unexpected has joined the envoy. He reveals the name of a reclusive, transcendental being, Heaven's Rebukes. The legendary master, who has been in seclusion for decades, is on his way to Balkan. In the neon-drenched metropolis of Balkan, a legendary figure is about to make an appearance. Linux spots the perfect vantage point to witness the event. He activates a costly floating spell, willing to pay any price for even a glimpse. He soars into the sky, determined to see the one known as Heaven's Rebuke. She is a level 9 ascendant, one of fewer than 10 who remain in the world. A living legend, a protector of the timeline, Heaven's Rebuke, Madrea Falsier. While a great mage is considered a strategic weapon, an ascendant is a transcendental being, a force beyond mortal comprehension. From her perch outside of time, she sees both the future and the past, a solitary guardian against unseen disasters. Lennox lands on the rooftop, knowing this is his one and only chance. But the building is already occupied by armed soldiers. He identifies them as the government's special forces, watching over the square below. With his invisibility magic penalized, he resorts to a different kind of deception. He casts a disorienting illusion, masking his presence with sensory noise. With the guards completely oblivious, he slips past their position. He settles in at the edge of the roof and prepares to watch. The scope he acquired from the bartender grants him a front-row seat. Through the lens, he sees the massive crowd gathered in the square below. The rooftop guard gives the signal. Their target will arrive in 30 seconds. And right on cue, Lennox finally spots her arriving in the square. As Heaven's Rebuke makes her entrance, the entire city seems to hold its breath. Cheers erupt from the onlookers as they gaze upon the legend. Yet she maintains a serene, almost detached composure amidst the chaos. Suddenly, Lennox's eyes flash with an unnatural blue light. An unimaginable torrent of mana floods his senses. The entire city is drowning in an ocean of her power. The sheer scale of her presence steals the air from his lungs. He stares in primal fear at a being that can hardly be called a person. Her mana is a terrifying force, powerful enough to obliterate the city with a thought. As he turns to flee, a voice echoes directly in his mind. How can there be consequence without cause? The Ascendant knows he is there, and she speaks of a fundamental question pondered for ages. How can a world with a broken order still find its balance? She tells him that his very existence, an anomaly from another world, is the impossible answer. A small, knowing smile plays on her lips. She finds the situation interesting. She warns that if the others knew what he was, they would hunt him down at any cost. But her next words carry the weight of resignation. All struggle is pointless. Her final telepathic message is a stark command: beware of Alcade. The connection shatters, and Lennox collapses to the rooftop. The mental and spiritual toll of the contact leaves him gasping for air. Back in his apartment, the encounter solidifies a new path in his mind. He now has a single, consuming goal: to reach the peak of ascension himself and uncover the truth of why he was brought to this world. Days later, news reports confirm the Balkan government capitulated to all of Philonom's demands thanks to her intervention. Then, a far more shocking headline appears: Madrea Falsier has died. He questions why someone who could see the future would choose to spend her final moments in Balkan. At the underworld bar, Jenny reveals Heaven's Rebuke had a very specific reason for siding with Philonom. She had leverage, Balkan's top-secret black consumer project, the source of the contaminated beasts. Balkan was caught using Philonom captives as test subjects, giving the Ascendant all the power she needed. With Heaven's Rebuke dead, the bartender points out that the agreement is now fragile. Balkan won't maintain the unfair agreement for long. They will eventually act. Jenny realizes the chilling truth: the collapse of the treaty means war. Walking home, Lennox considers the Ascendant's sacrifice a fragile peace bought with her life. But he suspects her true reason for coming to Balkan was to confirm his existence. The strain of his thoughts and the system's penalties bring on a familiar headache. Lost in thought, a small object slips from his pocket. It's the taser he stole from a group of thugs weeks ago. As he reaches for it, a heavy boot slams down, pinning it to the ground. He looks up into a face he never expected to see again. A drunken vagrant angrily accuses Lennox of dropping his property. The old man gets in his face, aggressively demanding if he's deaf. Lennox's patience wears thin over such a trivial argument. He decides to end the confrontation, gathering a quiet storm of mana in his hand. With a casual display of power, he sends a current of electricity through the man's body. The old man's belligerence vanishes, replaced by the stark terror of facing a mage. He bows low, offering the device back as a sign of complete submission. Lennox calmly retrieves the taser, questioning the man's earlier claim. The man proudly insists he built the device, but Lennox knows it's a Dyke brand product. But the artisan corrects him: he didn't build it from scratch, he remodeled it. He remembers the warning when he first acquired it, a dike laser cutter illegally modified into a weapon. The pieces click into place. By sheer coincidence, he's found the original illegal remodeler. Seeing a potential customer, the artisan switches gears and offers his services for any future needs. As the old man departs, Lennox makes a mental note to find him again through his broker. 2 days later, a message from Jenny about new work leads him to a private room in the underworld bar. Inside, he finds his broker accompanied by an overly enthusiastic client. He takes a seat, put off by the new client's obnoxious, unwavering stare. The green-haired man just smiles, smug and entirely unfazed. Fed up with the scrutiny, Lennox breaks the silence. "Have you never seen a mage before?" The man smirks, confirming this is indeed his first time seeing one up close. He remarks that, among all the freelancers, Lennox is the first legitimate mage he's met. He even turns to Jenny, boasting that Lennox is the real deal. Lennox leans in close, his voice dangerously low. "Do you know me?" He unleashes his mana, and the room's pressure drops as he draws his weapon. The client is caught completely off guard, frozen in place by the crushing weight of the mana. His confident facade shatters as he struggles to move against the overwhelming force. With the laser cutter aimed at his face, Lennox coldly tells him to learn some manners. The glowing tip of the weapon hovers inches from the man's eye, the threat now lethally clear. Pinning him to the couch with raw power, Lennox warns him to stop testing his boundaries. He knows this type, they poke for weakness, and must be answered with overwhelming force. While Jenny watches impassively, Lennox asks his client if he understands the situation now. Point made, he deactivates the weapon with a click. The moment the pressure lifts, the green-haired man lurches forward, gasping for air. But he recovers with a laugh, cheekily remarking on Lennox's hot temper. The ability to smile after that proves one thing to Lennox: this man is two-faced. As the man stretches, Lennox sizes him up. He's not just two-faced, he's more beast than human. Then, the man glances at the laser cutter and asks if it was remodeled by that old geezer's. The unexpected connection catches Lennox off guard as the man muses he thought the old artisan was dead. He asks Lennox to pass on a message. The security section chief is furious with him. With the tension broken, he formally introduces himself as Killian. The card identifies him as technical assistance for a company with a familiar logo. Killian gets to the point. His company, Dike, wants to hire Lennox for a job. He formally extends the offer, asking if he's interested. The meeting moves to the towering Dike headquarters. Inside the elevator, Killian gauges what Lennox knows about the corporation. Lennox recalls what he learned from Jenny. Dike began as a simple tool manufacturer, but they leveraged their wealth to break into the highly competitive weapons business. A move that put them in direct conflict with the established weapons developer, Achilles. Killian mentions the job comes with a position on the team, but Lennox cuts him off. He still hasn't heard what the job is. With a smile, Killian gestures towards an office door, promising answers are just inside. He barges in, announcing to a woman named Fanoa that he's brought the mage. Fanoa, a manager, sighs, reminding him she asked for prior notice. She recovers, professionally welcoming Lennox by his alias, Mr. Van. She introduces herself as Fanoa Bellucci, a manager at Dike. But before they begin, Lennox has a question of his own. He asks her directly, how high is her position in the Dike Corporation's hierarchy? He needs to understand the scope of the mission, and exactly who gives the orders. He adds that he can't rely on his escort for information, because the werewolf didn't tell him anything. Fanoa's composure cracks, as she demands to know if Killian revealed what he was. Lennox reveals he could sense the beast hiding inside Killian all along. His knowledge comes from a simple, brutal truth: he's killed one before. Fanoa attempts to reassert control by citing company policy, but Lennox is already beyond her threats. She shifts tactics, offering a formal apology for Killian's hostility. He brushes it aside, demanding to know exactly who he's dealing with. She makes her authority clear. She holds the power to steer the entire corporation. With the pleasantries over, she unveils her true purpose: a hostile takeover of the lawless outer districts. He feigns ignorance with a wry smile, but she isn't here for a salesman. Before Dike can move in, she explains, certain obstacles must be removed, and she believes he is the perfect tool for the job. The implication is clear: this isn't a business proposal, it's a kill order. He plays the fool, forcing her to say the quiet part out loud. She takes the bait, laying out the cold logic behind her choice. His reputation precedes him, but more importantly, as a freelancer, he provides the perfect cover. The full scope of the operation settles in. He's not just a mercenary, he's a political weapon. She explains that if Dike's own forces acted, it would ignite a corporate war. But if an independent mercenary handles their rivals, the victims will have no one to blame, at least not officially. He connects the dots. Dyke is using him to execute a corporate conquest with the city's tacit approval. He can't help but admire the sheer audacity of the plan. With the game laid bare, he asks what's in it for him. She knows simple money won't be enough for a man like him. So she presents an offer she knows he cannot refuse. The prize, a legendary artifact known as Enagfil's Five Fingers. A single-use relic, so rare it's never sold on the open market. It contains 5 charges of powerful evasion magic, a priceless advantage for a fighter with limited mobility. The terms are simple: complete 5 jobs for Dyke, and the artifact is his. And to sweeten the deal, each job comes with a substantial cash payout. The artifact would erase his single greatest weakness. Fanoa presses for an answer, confident she has him hooked. But a contract this binding requires consideration. Back at the underworld bar, Jenny confirms the gravity of Dyke's proposal. An offer this big comes with equally massive risks. She warns him that by becoming Dyke's sword, he'll make an enemy of every rival weapons company. He accepts this as the cost of doing business. Until now, his jobs were simple, with manageable consequences, but this contract will put him in the crosshairs of the city's most dangerous players. Yet the rare medicines and relics he seeks can't be won by playing it safe. To get what he needs, he has to climb higher, no matter the danger. He tells Jenny to accept the offer. With the contract accepted, Jenny briefs him on the first target, an illegal arms dealer named Paul Ackerman. Ackerman appeared 2 years ago, rapidly building his empire on a mysterious supply route. Rumor has it he's merely an agent for a much larger threat, the infamous Juice Masters, the leader of the Dominico cartel, a man who has become a legend in Pandemonium's underworld. The target is protected by a notorious war mercenary, Jude Russell. And curiously, Dyke has put an additional bounty on the bodyguard's head. Lenik questions the extra bounty, but Dyke has kept their reasons a secret. The intel places Ackerman's next meeting at a port in the 48th district, but Lenik questions its reliability. Jenny confirms it. Access to the area is being heavily restricted, a clear sign the meeting is real. He won't be going in alone. He's part of a 5-person freelance team, assembling in 3 days. With only 3 days until the operation, Lenik declares his preparations must begin at once. Before he goes, he offers a rare, sincere thanks for her help. She sends him off with a confident smile, knowing this is far from their last meeting. He steps out of the shadows and into the fire. Under the neon glare of the harbor, a new mission begins. Lenik prepares to meet the elite freelancers Dyke Corporation has assembled for him. He finds his new teammates, a motley crew of mercenaries who note he's the last to arrive. His gaze lingers on 2 members in futuristic steel masks, their identities completely concealed. The masked team leader steps forward to begin the briefing. He projects a holographic map of the target area, laying out the details of their infiltration. The harbor is heavily guarded, with 5 entrances across the perimeter. The plan is simple. Each of the 5 operatives will secure an entrance, then regroup near the storage containers. The leader distributes single-use communication devices to the team. Before they depart, he questions the other mercenaries' lack of caution for not covering their faces. He reminds them that while Dyke offers a hefty paycheck, the corporation does not guarantee their survival. The female freelancer scoffs at their paranoia. In the mercenary world, she retorts, showing your face is how you build a reputation and increase your value. But the masked man cuts her off with a single, arrogant command, stay out of their way. As they disperse, the female freelancer coldly rebuffs her brawny counterpart's attempt to team up. The muscular mercenary turns his attention to Lenik, giving him a condescending order, follow them, and try not to die. He punctuates his point with a chilling threat, slow them down and he'll rip off his limbs. The empty threat doesn't even register. He'll settle the score later, assuming the brute even survives the night. Lenik waits for the signal, his focus absolute. The countdown reaches 0. The masked leader strikes from the shadows, a silent predator. His partner unleashes a torrent of lightning, incapacitating another guard instantly. The female freelancer carves a bloody path with her blade, and the brawny mercenary shatters bone with a single savage punch. Lenik, however, chooses a different approach, activating his illusion magic. He casts the spell over an entire patrol of unsuspecting guards. The magic takes hold, leaving the soldiers dazed and utterly vulnerable. Against a master illusionist, these common soldiers never stood a chance. With his area secured but the target still missing, he decides to thin the herd. He skillfully manipulates his spell, planting false sounds and sights in the soldiers' minds. The illusion works perfectly, luring 2 confused guards right into his trap. Lenik takes aim, whispering the activation word for his next spell, silence. 2 muffled shots echo, and the guards drop without a sound. Standing over a pile of bodies, he reports his success to the team. The leader issues a new command, report immediately the moment the target is spotted. To prepare for the target's arrival, he pulls out the stealth charm he took from Milla. Using one of its limited charges is a waste, but a necessary one. The target's bodyguard, Jude Russell, is a legendary war mercenary whose senses miss nothing. Lennox activates the charm, and reality bends around him until he is completely invisible. Now cloaked, he watches as a convoy of cars pulls into the harbor. He identifies the arrivals as Ackerman's nervous business partners. Suddenly, a luxury car barrels into the compound, scattering the men. The target, Paul Ackerman, steps out with his bodyguard Jude Russell, a sarcastic smile on his face. Lennox confirms his identity. The target is in the kill zone. He immediately reports to his team leader, Ackerman has arrived. Meanwhile, Ackerman approaches one of his distributors, his friendly tone a thin veil for his rage. He says he's just so grateful they could all finally meet to discuss business. He reminds the man of all the money, gifts, and bribes he'd invested in their operation. His voice turns to a snarl as he growls that, despite all his investments, nothing came back. His grip tightens, his patience finally broken. The distributor struggles, begging for his life, but Ackerman's fury is absolute. He sends the man flying with a vicious kick. Then he brutally stomps on his fallen partner, screaming about his wasted money. The other distributors are frozen, pleading for a mercy that will not come. From the shadows, Lennox knows he can't wait for backup. He draws his pistol, ready to take control of the situation himself. Channeling the power of a magic marksman, he rapidly casts a series of enhancement spells on his weapon. Aim assist, trajectory cover-up, spin-up, acceleration. Then with his firearm glowing, he utters the final word, silence. A supercharged, silent bullet rips through the air, streaking past the terrified men. Its destination, Paul Ackerman's skull. A magically infused bullet streaks toward Paul Ackerman's forehead. But an explosion of light rips through the darkness. His bodyguard, Jude Russell, intercepts the shot with a flick of his blade. As one of the men panics and flees, Paul watches with cold amusement. At his command, Jude becomes a blur of lethal motion. The runner's escape is cut brutally short. Jude's blade closes the distance in a heartbeat, and the man's head is severed from his body. Paul snaps at his terrified men, demanding they hold the line. Suddenly, a wave of freezing magic engulfs the entire group. Paul is caught completely off guard by the powerful assault. The entire dock is flash frozen in a massive display of power. Watching from the shadows, Lennox registers the new player on the field. He spots the attacker, a masked mercenary surveying the scene. The leader declares the mission complete, satisfied with the ambush. But his teammate confronts him, furiously demanding they confirm the kill. She warns that Jude Russell escaped the blast, but the leader dismisses her concern. Lennox observes their unprofessionalism, a weakness he can exploit. He prepares a contingency, a more powerful attack for what's to come. The woman threatens her leader, reminding him she answers directly to their employer, Dyke. Her threat is silenced by the point of a blade from behind. She collapses, a fountain of blood marking her last breath. The attacker steps out of the shadows. It is Jude Russell, who coolly informs the leader his client dislikes loud chatter. The leader is stunned, the bodyguard moved without triggering any of his detection systems. Jude raises his bloody knife, taunting that the mercenary walked right into his kill zone. He licks the blade clean, mocking his opponent's pathetic skills. He relishes the irritating taste of the knight's first kill. Lennox analyzes the bodyguard's movements, recognizing the style of a retired scavenger soldier. The masked leader raises his arm, finally preparing to retaliate. A glowing energy core is revealed in his palm, a sign of cybernetic enhancement. Jude seems unimpressed by the modern arm. He identifies his opponent as a member of the Cybreed Echo. Lennox recognizes the name, confirming the man's transhuman affiliation. A Cybreed Echo one who merged flesh with magic engineering to surpass human limits. Jude scoffs at the blood mixed with oil and marks his new target for death. The leader mocks him, declaring Paul is already dead and the mission nearly complete. But Jude's answering smirk holds a dangerous secret. A massive purple energy shield erupts from the ice, shattering the frozen tomb. Paul Ackerman emerges completely unharmed, laughing at the assassins. The leader is staggered. Survival should have been impossible. Paul boasts that he knew they were coming, and even brought a guest of his own. With a snap of his fingers, he springs his trap. A hulking figure emerges from the shadows, one of their own teammates. The traitor holds up the severed, sparking head of their third companion. The last masked leader is paralyzed by this ultimate treachery. Paul roars with laughter, gloating that their loyalty was so easily bought. He taunts that with enough money, anything is possible. Their utter failure is a source of pure amusement. Paul raises his weapon, promising he won't grant them a clean death. He vows to pry open the mercenary's head and take every last secret inside. His monologue is cut short by a blast of dark magic that tears through his body. Jude can only stare as his client is executed for real this time. As blood sprays across the battlefield, the true assassin finally steps onto the field. Lenik lowers his rifle, his careful preparation paying off perfectly. Enraged that his payday has just been vaporized, the traitorous freelancer erupts in a furious green aura. He launches himself from the shipping container, directing all his rage toward Lenik. The traitor screams, furious that Lenik was hiding the whole time. He smashes the ground in fury, vowing to kill the man who ruined his score. The freelancer gathers his power, warning Lenik that there is no escape. Lenik calmly erects a powerful hexagonal magic shield, bracing for the inevitable. The enraged mercenary brings his full, supercharged might crashing down upon the barrier. Lenik's shield strain against the overwhelming force. The brute's punch shatters 4 layers of his magical defense. He staggers back, realizing a single blow carries the force of a cannon. Outmatched by brute strength, he cycles through his tactical options. He opts for a gunslinger's approach, rapidly casting enhancements on his pistol. Loading acceleration, aim assist, shock reinforcement. He fires a supercharged magical round, point blank. But from the smoke, the freelancer emerges without a scratch. His imposing physique radiates an unnatural power. He scoffs, calling the magically enhanced weapon a child's toy. Lenik's best shot had absolutely no effect. Vowing to destroy him, the mercenary's fists ignite with a furious green energy. Lenik knows his last shield won't survive another hit. He has to escape. He prepares a shock spell as cover for his retreat. The mercenary's power crashes down, tearing the very ground apart. Lenik is thrown back by the force of the blast, crashing hard into a distant crane. He collapses to his knees, battered and weakened. But even now, a defiant smirk plays on his lips. The mercenary boasts that his ancestors value courage as his power begins to swell. A ghostly warrior manifests behind him, wreathed in a sinister aura. Lenik's blood runs cold. This is necromancy. The man was already a monster, and he's still getting stronger. Unexpectedly, the freelancer offers to spare Lenik's life. He explains that since Lenik already killed Paul Ackerman, his own job is now much easier. The mercenary reveals he was paid by both sides of the conflict. But Lenik sees the truth. The deal only works if there are no witnesses left. The freelancer laughs, impressed at being seen through so easily. He confirms the suspicion. His only task now is to silence the sole remaining witness. But as the killer moves in, a blue light flares in Lenik's eye. Suddenly, the bodyguard Jude Russell appears on a nearby structure. Jude leaps down, closing the distance, and the odds shift to 2 against 1. Trapped between 2 powerful enemies, Lenik must resort to a drastic measure. He makes a tactical retreat, dashing toward the edge of the harbor. The freelancer gives chase, effortlessly hoisting a massive shipping container. With a roar, he hurls the multi-ton projectile. Lenik nimbly dodges as it crashes into the ground behind him. But his pursuer is relentless, closing the gap with terrifying speed. A second container is ripped from the ground and sent flying. He weaves between the projectiles, his magic flaring to maintain speed. To halt the chase, he casts gravity binds on one of the containers. He redirects the massive object with his magic, sending it plummeting down to block the path. He reaches the edge of the pier cornered, with nowhere left to run. The freelancer mocks him, seeing his desperate gamble to escape by water. "Did you run all this way," he sneers, "to find a dramatic place to die?" Suddenly, a flash of red cuts through the air. Both men turn to face the newcomer. Having finished his own fight, Jude calmly walks toward them. The mercenary taunts Jude for failing his mission and letting the Cybreed Echo escape. Now facing them both, Jude notes that Lenik looks surprisingly calm for a cornered man. "Why kill me?" Lenik asks. "With your client dead, the job is over." Jude scoffs, declaring he must avenge his fallen client. But he reveals his true motivation. The notorious Jew's master personally assigned him this job. "My master wouldn't kill me for this," he explains, "but he wouldn't let it go either." The final piece falls into place. Paul Ackerman worked for the Jew's master. Lenik makes a new calculation. To prevent future trouble, both these men must die here and now. His eyes narrow, gathering an immense amount of mana. The time for running is over. Cornered by 2 powerful mercenaries, Lenik prepares his gambit. He casts a massive reverse gravity spell, sending the entire pier into chaos. Enraged, Jude Russell slams his sword into the ground, anchoring himself against the impossible magic. But Lenik merely smirks, his plan already in motion. Jude feels a change in the air. It's saturated with water. His eyes widen as he grasps the scale of the impending attack. Lenik coolly confirms he flooded the entire harbor to set the stage. As a torrent of water surges around him, he prepares to unleash his true spell. The entire battlefield is submerged, with Lennox standing at the epicenter of the vortex. Caught in the deluge, the mercenaries curse, their escape routes cut off. This was his strategy all along, to take them both down at once. A colossal wave, drawn from the harbor itself, crashes down. The force of the water overwhelms them, their bodies caught in the crushing torrent. Protected by a barrier, Lenik calmly waits for the perfect moment to strike. With his enemies trapped, he casts his next spell, Ice Round. In an instant, the swirling vortex of water freezes into a solid mass. Pinned in place by the ice, his targets can only watch as he takes aim. He layers his attack, enchanting his weapon with 3 gun-enhancing spells. With magically perfected aim, he lands a devastating shot on the muscular freelancer. The bullet tears through his skull. The freelancer can't believe he was caught, immobilized for only a moment. But Lennox stares in disbelief. The man is still alive, a true monster. Unwilling to leave such a threat standing, he activates his third eye for the final blow. Suddenly, the ice shatters as Jude breaks free with raw power. Jude lunges forward, his blade aimed for the seemingly distracted mage. But his sword collides with a brilliant, hexagonal energy shield. A good tactic, attacking a mage after a major spell. But Lennox reveals a series of rotating shields, a defense he had prepared just for this moment. He pivots from defense to offense, ready to press his advantage. Knowing Jude will now try to keep his distance, Lennox prepares his next move. But his opponent changes tactics, leaping into the air for a diving attack. Lennox stands his ground on the ice, calmly awaiting his foe. A sinister smile spreads across his face. As Jude closes in for the kill, he's struck by a small, explosive orb of energy. The force of the blast slams him into the frozen ground, shattering the surface. Coughing up blood, Jude understands too late he walked right into another trap. Lennox springs it, casting Gravity Bind on the exact spot where Jude landed. Dark tendrils erupt from below, pinning the mercenary to the ground. Stunned and immobilized, Jude demands to know how he was so perfectly predicted. Lennox calmly replies that he knew where Jude would land from their very first clash. He reveals his secret: he had secretly planted his own mana on Jude's body. Beams of light converge, pinpointing the location of his mana tracker. And then, Lennox reveals the final part of his trap. The ground Jude lies on is also laced with his mana. He unleashes a devastating Shadow Raid spell from beneath his captive. Jude screams as shadow magic erupts and tears through his legs. Maimed but still clinging to life, he drags his broken body across the ice. Lennox mocks him, saying he has known his true nature for some time. With a final, desperate act, the mercenary's body dissolves into a maelstrom of blood. The blood swirls and reforms, revealing his hidden power. Lennox watches, his suspicions finally confirmed. The moment Jude licked the blood from his blade, the truth was sealed. He was fighting a vampire. He identifies the ability as blood chemistry, the power to control a fog of blood. The blood mist swirls into the air, a desperate attempt to escape. To end this once and for all, Lennox unleashes his most powerful spell, Thunder Calling. A massive bolt of lightning descends from the heavens. The strike engulfs the blood fog, electrocuting the vampire and sealing his fate. Panting from the exertion, Lennox feels the toll the battle has taken on his frail body. He takes a drag from a mana-infused cigarette, the stimulant helping him recover. He stands victorious over the frozen battlefield and the remains of 2 powerful enemies. But as the dust settles, a small drone hovers into view, its lens fixed upon him. Inside the towering headquarters of the Dike Corporation, the mission's masterminds assess the fallout. An executive named Killian reviews the battle data on Lennox, his suspicions about the freelancer confirmed. He laments their shoddy vetting process, insisting they need a better way to screen their operatives. But his manager, Fonoa, counters that a proper test would have cost them far more than they were willing to spend. She sighs, conceding that they completely underestimated the dangers of the 40th District. Killian dismisses her concerns, pointing to the footage of Lennox, the one truly skilled asset from the entire fiasco. Fonoa agrees to salvage the situation by offering Lennox the combined reward promised to the other 4 freelancers. Their entire plan now hinges on the sole, competent survivor of their botched operation. Meanwhile, the news of Paul Ackerman's death sends ripples through the city's underworld. Lennox's broker Jenny calls to inform him that Ackerman's investors have had their financial lifelines severed overnight. She warns that killing a subordinate of the infamous Juice Masters has attracted dangerous attention. While patching up his wounds, Lennox asks what Dike Corporation's response has been. Jenny confirms their desperation. They've sent a long apology and requested he visit their headquarters again. He agrees with her plan to let them sweat, hoping to squeeze a larger reward from their mistake. Noticing how rough the job was, Jenny suggests he seek out a former medic named Jordan for proper treatment. For the next few days, he ignores all calls, focusing only on mending his battered body. His condition is so poor he can barely eat, a grim reminder to never push his body to such a reckless limit again. Once he recovers slightly, he dedicates his time to intensive magic research. In the past, he improved spells like lightning bounds through sheer repetition. Now, he takes a more academic approach, analyzing the fundamental patterns within the spells themselves. His new goal, to collect enough data to design his own custom magic. Surrounded by notes, he meticulously deconstructs the formulas of mana, seeking to build something new. Finally recovered, he forces himself to go grocery shopping, intent on maintaining his health. He deliberately avoids his usual market, knowing the government agent Evelyn works there. But as he shops at a new location, a familiar voice cuts through the crowd. He turns, his eyes widening as he spots the source. To his horror, it's Evelyn, the government agent and mysterious vegetable stall owner. Of all the markets in the city, she had to be here. His luck has run out. His mind flashes back to their first encounter, and a cold realization hits him. She had instantly sensed his unique mana, a dead giveaway to his identity. In a split second, he weaves a spell behind his back, altering the very signature of his mana to mask his identity. Evelyn eyes him with a flicker of suspicion, sensing something is off. With a casual shrug, she dismisses the feeling, concluding she must have imagined it. A cold sweat breaks on his neck. Her perception is so sharp she almost saw through his gambit instantly. He remembers her overwhelming power when she confronted the monstrous Croconacillus. Her stern warning to the Pandemonium executive echoes in his mind. This woman is far more dangerous than she appears. He must tread carefully. He calmly pays for his groceries, hoping for a clean escape. But just as he turns to leave, she stops him in his tracks. She wants to know his name. She explains that his mana control is exceptionally neat, predicting he'll quickly rise through the ranks. Since they might meet again, she suggests it would be good to know each other. Every word is a test, a calculated move in a game he doesn't understand. Is this an invitation or an interrogation? Sensing his hesitation, she leans in, offering to share some classified information. She warns of an impending large-scale government inspection in the outer districts, specifically targeting tax evaders. She advises him to lay low, unless his name is already on the deep web. He plays dumb, feigning ignorance about the freelancer database. Evelyn just chuckles, claiming she's only telling him this because she likes him. He knows full well that if he were caught in such a raid, the consequences would be far more severe than just awkward. Dropping her casual pretense, she formally introduces herself as Evelyn Marcia. Without missing a beat, he gives her a plausible fake name, Ed James. Evelyn accepts his alias, and they exchange a promise to remember each other's names. Her final words are a warning, a promise that the next time they meet, he had better answer to the name Ed James's. The agent's smile is a razor's edge, leaving a warning hanging in the air. Just then, a call from his broker, Jenny, cuts through the noise of the city. As expected, the Dyke Corporation is desperate, unable to reach him and growing frantic. They've doubled his reward multiple times and now summon him to their headquarters. But a week is too long. He decides to settle this matter now. He arrives at his usual haunt, the Underworld Bar, a place he knows like the back of his hand. But the moment he enters, instinct screams that something is wrong. His eyes find the source, an imposing figure waiting at the bar. The man turns, a predator's gaze locking onto its prey. His name is Beck, and he warns Lennox to remember it. Because of Lennox's last job, Beck took a very, very big loss. A wave of hostile mana floods the room, but Lennox calmly raises a hand. His hexagonal barrier flares to life, effortlessly deflecting the assault. Beck's magic shatters against the shield like glass, his intimidation tactic rendered worthless. Lennox coolly asks if he worked with Paul Ackerman. The name hits its mark. Ackerman was an investor in Beck's business. He pieces it together. A weapons dealer here for revenge. Beck claims he's only here to deliver a message. He warns that his organization shows no mercy, not even to the young. With a fist slammed on the table, he delivers his final threat: stay out of their business. But Lennox remains unmoved, his shield holding firm against the renewed pressure. This man wants to make him afraid, but fear is a luxury he can't afford. With a surge of his own mana, he unleashes a blast that sends Beck flying. Winded and stunned, the gang leader can only stare, his power completely outmatched. Lennox warns him that Dyke Corporation won't stand idly by if this continues. He then hints that Ackerman's men weren't just left behind by accident. Defeated, Beck concedes, claiming this confrontation never happened. But before he leaves, he issues a final threat to Jenny, warning that someone named Kaiser is the only reason he's letting her off. Jenny stands her ground, ordering him out of her bar. With a final venomous glare, Beck turns to leave. He storms out, utterly overpowered and outplayed. Jenny reveals the man's identity, Bet Clinton, a higher-up in the Cigar Bang gang. She warns him this is a massive organization, 1,000 members strong, and suggests he use Dyke to eliminate them. He must now prepare for a war against an entire criminal empire. Changing the subject, Jenny presents a list of new job requests, all specifically for him. His eyes catch a familiar name, Sebastian, the rival broker who tried to poach him. With an advance deposit of 22 million sell, this isn't just a job offer, it's a statement. Jenny suggests that new connections with Sebastian's influential clients could prove useful. This is it, an opportunity to gather intelligence on the Dyke Corporation from the inside. He asks if she's okay with him taking the job, but she trusts him completely. The decision is made. He accepts Sebastian's offer. He arrives at an opulent office building in the affluent 45th district. The immense wealth is a world away from the grit of the lower districts. Sebastian, dressed in a sharp white suit, greets him at the door. Inside, he introduces the client, a man named Madison. Madison, an older man with bandages on his face, offers a polite greeting. Sebastian introduces Lennox by his alias, Van, praising him as a highly skilled freelancer. Lennox's sharp eyes immediately catch the fresh, but minor, injuries on Madison's face. Madison explains he's a development manager for the car company, Audible. He claims that while transporting a new model's blueprint, a group of freelancers attacked and stole it. The mission is clear: retrieve the blueprint or destroy it. Sebastian vouches for Van's flawless track record, a blatant lie they both silently acknowledge. For now, Madison seems satisfied, looking forward to working with him. But as soon as the client leaves, the real meeting begins. Sebastian immediately cuts to the chase, asking for his professional opinion. Lennox doesn't hesitate, the man was lying. The proof is in his wounds, too small, too clean for a violent robbery. Sebastian lays out the possibilities. Either Madison is working with the robbers, or he tried to betray his own company and was double-crossed in the process. But Sebastian has his own agenda, revealing he was secretly recording their entire conversation. He plans to send the recording directly to Audible's CEO. By tomorrow, Madison will be arrested, a brutal but effective move. With Madison out of the picture, Sebastian explains the true mission: find the actual robbers. An opportunistic smile spreads across the broker's face. In this world of lies and shadows, the hunt is all that remains.